Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and welcome. It is that time. That's right. It is time for Talk Tuesday. Welcome in, Raiders, for both Hermaeus Rose and the Rambling Danny. You fantastic, fantastic people. Welcome on in. Glad to see you guys here. You have arrived just in time. We are just getting started. That's right. It is Talk Tuesday, that fabulous time of the week when once again we're back here with another outstanding, shiny star and an amazing streamer that we're all dying to learn a whole lot more about. I hope you guys are ready. Sit back, get ready, cause tonight's special guest is a variety streamer who likes to terrorize ghosts. So follow them to see some amazing stories and some wild antics. From Viking helms to the fuzziest of ears, this streamer is always the loveliest of dears. A terror to ghosts and demons alike, and still not a stranger to working under some lockdown with a team. You can find them leading an all-star squad of female ghost hunters and snapping the thin strings of a fellow demonologist songs. With a gorgeous voice, you just want them to sing all of your sing-alongs. This delightful creature is always a good time to watch. But watch out, you don't refer to them as a color. This gorgeous fox is one half of a delightful pair that roam the Twitch scenes. You can find them modding and looking cool, even in their own streams, leaving all the gents to drool. Easy on the ears, easy on the eyes, and they're sure to be your new best friend. So without any more leading you down some trails, I present to you the absolute foxiest of foxes on Twitch, the one, the only, Red Fox Heritage. Red Fox Heritage, welcome to Talk Tuesday.
How do I follow that introduction? Hello, everybody. Goodness me. I'm glad my face isn't on the stream yet. That's all I can say.
It's good and red. I can see that already. We're just getting started.
It is.
We got 2 raids and we're just even getting started. You've got an entirely an impressive crowd already sitting out there begging for some of your attention. Are you ready for this?
As I'll ever be. Yes.
For those of you new to Talk Tuesday, this is how this stuff works. Here on Talk Tuesday, we sit down with a fabulous streamer. Today's guest, this is Red Fox Heritage, the loveliest of things. You guys get to ask questions. I get the first 2. That's my right as the show's host. Ha 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 ha. After that, you guys can start spamming in all of the questions that you want, and we will get them all answered as quickly as we can from this fabulous little thing. Hang on one second. I'm like, oh wait, did I remember to do the thing? I did not. Here I was like, oh, I'm doing so good. I was on top of everything.
We thought we were so prepared.
I was doing so that. It's all right. It's all right. This will take like 2 seconds. It's fine. It's fine. Like red wine. But so we have a redeem down in there that lets anybody redeem a questions. Please hold those for like 2 seconds real quick. Where'd you go? There we go. All right. You can hit the button as much as you want. That will let us know what questions that you would like to send up for Foxy to answer for you. There we go. Done. We also have a puzzle for those of you interested in doing the puzzle. It's sitting over there, exclamation puzzle in the chat. We'll get you a link to the puzzle. It's already live and ready to go. So questions are going to come in fast and furious. So chat's going to go absolutely crazy and talk their little hearts out. We're all excited for it. We're all happy and excited to hear everything we can from you. To that end, you're welcome to watch chat and respond to chat and say hi to everybody in chat. That is absolutely a thing to do. As the questions come in, don't worry about trying to answer questions. That's my job. I will feed you the questions. This way I can filter the questions, because sometimes there's questions we're like, no, we're not asking that on stream. Prime example, Zoda, I'm sorry. You only get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to figure out the rest of the credit card numbers. We're just not going to tell you. It's just not going to happen.
Make me work for my money.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So beyond that, if, however, a question slips by my filters where I'm like, I don't see anything wrong with the question, so I'll ask you the question, and you are not comfortable answering said question, you are welcome to just say no. We'll skip it and move on like it never even happened. Like, don't feel pressure to answer every question that comes out here. Some of them could just be, no, that one's inappropriate on so many levels. You may not understand why, because you just asked it and you obviously don't know. I'm telling you, it's inappropriate. We're fine. You don't owe me an
Okay.
explanation. You don't owe anybody else an explanation. You can just say, no, I'm not answering that one. And we'll move right on.
Okay.
Okay. So
Done.
nice and easy. And if a question comes by and it looks sus to me, and I may read it out, but I may also like directly answer the question right afterwards to pick fun at whoever was asking the question, because obviously they were trying to be silly anyways. You're welcome to jump on board with the silliness, and we can pick fun at the individual together, or you can jump on my back and be like, hey, don't you say something about that. Don't be rude like that. What are you doing?
I've got to pick sides.
Either way is fine. Whichever one works for you. It's just fine.
Okay.
Beyond that, I think that's just about everything. Do you have any questions before we get started?
No. Let's go.
Well, then, without any further ado, welcome to Talk Tuesday. She's live. You can see that red face already.
Hello. Oh God, it's strange. Okay, I need to make this so I can't see myself. There we go. That's better. That's better.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's so weird. Like, I'm used to seeing my face on my own stream,
Yeah.
but on someone else's, it feels really different.
It does. It usually takes a little bit getting used to when you do like a lot of collaborations like this. I'll be honest. I've done so many of these now. My Twitch stats came back, and I've got like over 100 different collaborations. I'm like, good grief.
Wow.
I don't know how to play by myself.
Honestly, for the last couple of months, same. I haven't done a solo stream in probably about 2 months.
It's fine. It's fine. Oof, we got questions flying in already. Well, we'll kick the conversation started. We'll let the questions build up just a little bit. Your name, Red Fox Heritage. I love the name.
Thank
Where
you.
did you come up with it?
It's a good question.
Already with the you did it. You said it. You get dinged.
Heritage. The heritage part is easy because the heritage part came from the fact that I used to be a teacher. I used to be a secondary school teacher, which here in the UK, that means you teach children between the ages of 11 and 18.
Okay.
And I have always loved history. I was a history teacher, taught history and politics. So when I got tired of getting heart infections from teaching, because it's an insanely stressful job, I didn't want to give up on the history side of things. So I thought, well, I'll open my own company and I can teach heritage crafts because I'm nerdy like that and know some of them. And so that's the heritage part. And the Red Fox part came from, God, what do you call a company when you're starting a company up and you're thinking, God, there's loads of things. I'm not going to dox myself, particularly by using some of the kind of historical names that are around me. I thought I could use that, but I think they're probably used by lots of people before. So my inspiration came from, I'm going to see if the camera will, my little fox ring. This was a present from Jack. I believe the first Christmas we were together. So almost 8 years ago now.
Wow.
I like foxes. I think I was looking down and saw the fox on my finger and was like, Red Fox Heritage. Done.
It's fabulous. It is a fabulous way. Like, I've had everybody like, oh, my name's not that comical or clever or anything else. There's not really much of a story. All stories around names are just fantastic. Like, that's my personal favorite thing. Even if it is something like, for you, your name actually has some meaning, right? Because you pulled the fox right off of your finger, which that happened to be there because your significant other.
It's a weird phrase, but yeah.
I am nothing if not good at turning a phrase poorly.
I'm here for it. It's fine.
But I mean, as it were, that's exactly where you drew that. You looked down, you saw the fox, and hey, it's there. And it holds
foxes
meaning
are quite common as well in the UK. So I have a preference with animals, in a very non-weird way. Fuzzy animals. I like the fuzzy animals. And they all seem to have that kind of orangey, darkish fur. So foxes and red pandas and all those kind of things. Something about it just looks so fluffy and like amazing. And foxes here are really, really common. I don't know about other parts of the world that people are in, but
There. So where I'm at, not so much. Where I used to live, yes. Hi, Jilly. Welcome in.
Jillian, hello.
Jillian just won affiliate.
Can I multitask?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was pointing that out to make certain that you ran over there and got your founder's badge.
I'm doing it now. I'm doing it now. Talk among yourselves for one moment.
Quick. Go get the founder's badge.
I'm doing it. I collect them.
You're not the only one. You were not the only one. I rushed to get those founder's badges. I'm like, why? Why do I do something like that? But I do it.
Yeah. I like people to know that they feel supported.
Well, yes.
Has it done it? It's being slow.
Danny, Jillian just won affiliate. Since you're asking the question, so I think there might be a few founders badges left. I don't know.
Done. Jillian, let me know if I got a founder's badge. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I wasn't fast enough.
Well, you can find out, because if Danny comes back and says she got her founder's badge, then you definitely got one.
That's true. Danny, it's all on you now.
We got pandas.
Oh, panda, that's cute.
We love a panda. So interesting. I find it always interesting, especially with people who take names after animals. Like, I know a lot of squirrels, including the Swifty squirrel. Interesting enough, Swifty was not the first squirrel I met on Twitch, but I know a lot of squirrels. So squirrel seems to be a really popular one. And I know turtles and squirrels, and I'm like, there is definitely a thing about taking up animals for some reason or another. And I've always found it rather interesting. And then you have people that are like, no, I'm not going to use animals. Some people will use their names. Some people use pieces of their name. Some people use these things from a video game. But more often than not, Julie's like, I'm getting pinged from...
You'll take it, Jillian, and that's that.
Yeah, that's right. You accept that love, and you just have to deal with it.
Yeah, basically, there's nothing to be done about it. So
there's no return. You're not allowed to return.
I think animals are unfortunately natural branding. Because I didn't start off thinking I'm going to be a Twitch streamer.
Right.
It was something that was easy to make a business logo from that could stand out. And I know there's lots of businesses with foxes, but there's a lot of scope to sort of make it your own.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether sometimes that's what it is, that it does produce, and once you are on Twitch, it's natural for things like emojis and things like that. So maybe and they're cute,
They are cute. So I think I find it interesting that the animal concept for naming, for branding purposes, people tend to take an animal based on a couple of concepts. Like, there are car dealerships that use tigers and lions and zebras, and they want animals that are really fast to represent their car that they're putting out to, not only just because the name is really fun. Yes, I've got this, fast leopard of a car, and it's following after a leopard. Leopards are fast animals, great. But it also imprints in our head a vision for what that's supposed to deliver and bring to the table. So I think it makes it easier for marketing. I'm not saying there's anything bad about the animal. I just find it fascinating at how easily that marketing wise happens with that connection. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to just it's going to be fine. But Red Fox Heritage, when I saw the fox portion of your name, the first time I ever saw you on stream, I'm like, you look like a fox. Makes perfect sense.
Was I wearing ears?
No, you weren't wearing the ears, and then I discovered the
Oh.
ear redeem after that. I'm like, oh, well, that just kind of completes the ensemble.
I
I'm like,
think
okay.
I disappoint quite a few people when they come in and discover that I don't have red hair. I'm not a redhead, sorry,
But
everybody.
not all foxes are red.
No, it's true. But there's been a lot of people that have come in and been like, oh, you don't have red hair. No, sorry, I don't.
Okay, you don't have red hair.
No.
I'm not losing sleep on that. That's fine. It doesn't change that the rest of the your shape and your demeanor is very, very fox like.
I think I'll say thank you to that. Is it the long nose? Is that what does it?
No. So I like foxes. I like looking at foxes. Foxes have a very playful attitude. They're also very bit mischievous. And so periodically watching you stream, you can always tell when you're fixing to do something a little on the mischievous side because you get a twinkle in your eye and you get this look and you're like, oh, there's the fox right there. And you have that same sort of look. So that's where that gets drawn from. It's not anything like facially feature structure wise. You don't have a long nose or anything like that. No, it's a lot of the mannerisms that go behind that.
Okay. I will take
shattered.
That. I know, Carmen, right? Right.
But I mean, that's again my 2 cents on that. Take it for what it's worth. It's not always worth the paper it's printed on. I promise. It's good enough. So streaming doesn't like nobody sits down to decide they're going to do streaming. Like nobody's like, oh, I'm going to be a streamer. And that's it. Like what got you into streaming? Like what was the thing that went, I'm going to turn the camera on, show off this very foxy face to everybody and get out there and say hi to everybody. Like what was the thing that kicked you into this?
Technically, I had streamed a few times previously. I did end up mostly streaming on Facebook the first time around, and that's when I was streaming craft. So I was streaming doing pyrography.
Right.
I streamed before doing a summer solstice celebration and some of the things that people in the past did to celebrate that. I did the same thing for Halloween, where me and my friend showed some parlor games that people used to do, kind of Victorian Edwardian parlor games that people used to play. I mostly did it on Facebook because I had a ready-made audience there of people that followed my business.
Right.
And I streamed it a few times on Twitch, mostly just to try and get a little bit of foot traffic further towards, because at that point I was making money on Etsy, so it was a couple of trial runs to see how it went. The answer was not great. It's actually quite difficult to stream something that your hands are doing on a desk rather than your face. I didn't have the equipment. This is 2020 into 2021, so we had a lot of lockdowns in the UK.
Yes.
That would lift and then go back in and lift and go back in. So I was sort of, I guess, at that point trying to capitalize on maybe there'll be people just at home that might stumble in and watch. And it was mostly making dice. And I believe at that point it was Orlok dice from Assassin's Creed Valhalla that I was making and streaming. And then business got busy enough that I didn't need to stream. And it was a hassle at that point because I just had no idea what I was doing. And then for a long time, so I had a different Twitch account that was under my name that I used to watch people like InSim stream. I know that Jem and Jen are also big InSim fans, which is where my love of Phasmo came from, was watching his streams and learned a huge amount from watching that. And then BG3 came out, Baldur's Gate 3 came out, and somehow stumbled into the online community for that, and then realized, oh, Neon Newborn streams, great, get in there. And without even thinking about it, I was still logged in as Red Fox Heritage, and so all the subscriptions started. I was like, well, I guess I'm using this one now, and didn't ever really think that anybody would I didn't expect to be interacting with people.
Right.
But then from watching Neil stream, was then introduced to Tom DeVille's streams. And that community was much, much, much smaller. Neil streams are, I mean, chaotic for the gameplay, but the chat goes past so fast.
Yes.
You just physically, you can't really interact with anybody. Tom's at that point when I went in was really quite small. It's bigger now. And through that joined the Minkies Discord, and I think a lot of other people that you've had on Talk Tuesday have talked about the Minkies before. Very, very wonderful group of people.
We're very, very familiar with the Minkies.
Yes. But at that point, I started interacting with people. I was like, well, okay, now I'm going to have to set all my Discord names to Red Fox Heritage, because then people can actually tell who it is they're interacting with between the stream and here. And then met lots of lovely people and stumbled into the pond, which is a really lovely community of most people in their stream, but not everybody does. And then through that, met Naki, and also met... Hey, Tasha, sorry, I just read Tasha's comment and it threw me up. I also read Celebrity as Teletubby, which is actually what threw me up. I was like, okay, which Teletubby am I? Celebrity, Tasha, you. And also Danny, I met Danny through the Minkies as well. And then through them, I met Fargus and started modding for Fargus. And Fargus kept pushing me, you should stream, you should stream, you should stream. I was like, well, I've done it before, it didn't go well. I was like, you should definitely stream. And so I think I started just getting follows on my account. I wasn't streaming and people were following me. So I think I jokingly said, fine, if I get to 50 follows, I'll stream, thinking I will not get to 50 follows. And then I think within about a week, I hit that 50 follows because he was telling everybody to follow. And so then it started. And I was very reluctant and wary to begin with because I did not think anyone would watch. And people have been very kind and very generous with their time. So I'm still here.
Yeah. Well, we're glad that you're still here. It's always a good time. It's you I'm not going to say you founded the only all girls Phasmophobia group. I'm certain that there are other all females Phasmophobia, but you are the founder of the Ghost Birches, which has been a fantastic time on, I think they're my Saturdays. I remember where they fall.
Our Sunday. So I think Sunday morning for you.
Yeah, probably Sunday morning.
Yeah.
It's still a good time. Why Phasmo? I'm curious. Like, just the love of the game. Was there something about it that drew you specifically to it?
I really like gaming, but I wouldn't say I'm naturally good at lots of them. I'm not an FPS player. Things like Fortnite, things that I'm old now. My reaction times are just not good. I like a good RPG, but RPGs are things that can take a long time to play. There's something quite satisfying about the fact that Phasmo is short snippets, and you have a ghost and you have an environment, and then you finish that and then you go into another one. The changeability kind of tickles something in my brain somewhere. Right. It's a fun game. It's very atmospheric. It's well done. I absolutely hate horror games that just rely on really cheap jump scares. And although I don't get scared by Phasmo anymore, it will sometimes still give me a fright, because even their jump scares are not cliche. And you get to play with really fun people. I'm so glad now I stream that I have a group of people that will play with me, because none of my friends, and they were all boys. I'd only ever played video games with boys before as well. None of them wanted to play it. So if some people have seen me play with Fergus hates horror games, and I tried to make him play, and he was the biggest van princess I've ever seen. Just would not leave the truck. They all hate Mal saying play Fortnite with me. It will be me staring at a corner. That's all it will be. And so yeah, it was really fun then to find a group of other female players, because if you look through the top, I'm not saying I am a top Phasmo player, but if you look through the top Phasmo streamers, almost all of them, there was a handful of women in there, but almost all of them are men, and certainly the teams usually have at least one male player. And I love men are great, but it was quite nice to bring some female energy to the table.
Yeah. Well, and it's unique. Like I have played Phasmo, which is actually kind of funny because it's in my library. I played it one time, and we played it for about an hour. I'm not. Everybody's like, you'll be scared of it. You'll be scared of it. And so somebody went out and I say somebody, a friend of mine, Wars HQ, went out and bought me the game so that I would go play it with them. I'm like, fine, I'll sit down and play it with, because I don't do horror. I generally tend to avoid it because I have a reaction, one of two reactions to a horror game. One is I either scream like a little girl or I will laugh like an idiot. And it really just depends. If it's an atmospheric style horror or psychological horror, it gets absolutely no reaction out of me. And so I tend to just laugh at it like an idiot. So here I am, first play of Phasmophobia. Everybody's like, yes, he's going to scream. And they're all playing like all the jump scare noises and everything else. And I'm just sitting in there like, I can see when the ghost is coming after me. There's nothing scary about this. This is just fun. This is just sounds in my ear. Whatever. I can deal with this. This is not scary. And I just started laughing like an idiot and been like taunting the ghost. I'm like, nah, 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 nah. Like I was the worst Phasmo player in history. And the crew's like, you know what? We're not playing with Nori anymore. All he does is torment the ghost, and that's it. And so I haven't played Phasmo since.
We do that. We I don't know if you've seen. We end up with a lot of hunts immediately after insulting the ghost. Usually, like penis size or something just seems to trigger him, which is fair. But especially Crim and I together, yeah. So you're welcome to join in. You might have to put a wig on or something. But
I don't think this. I don't think this voice is going to get by for a female. I don't. I just don't see that happening.
That's, we're not here to put labels on anyone. So,
but I mean, so that was my one Phasmo game. We did it for about an hour. I think we did like 2 maps in, and they were like, yeah, this is not as nearly as much fun as we thought it was going to be. We were expecting, Nori to be running around and be a van princess or something. And I was like, first one into the house. I'm like, all right, where are you at? Come here.
We have a really interesting dynamic between us when we play. And Danny, I don't know if Danny can hear. I think Danny was making food or eating, but Danny sent me a video on TikTok earlier today or yesterday, one of the two. That was the types of people that play Phasmo. Crim knows so much about the game, but then will taunt us with cursed objects and things, and it's generally a little bit of a gremlin in there.
Right.
Arca really knows her shit and wants to get in, and she'll have some fun, but Arca wants to win the game. She wants to find the ghost. She will get annoyed with us if we're dicking around too much. Danny used to be Van Princess. I think Danny is still the one that is the most nervous, but has come on leaps and bounds since playing Madison. You could not get Danny in the house for a long time. Now Danny is right in there. She's trying things. And then I think I'm like, yeah, whatever. If we needed to hunt, I'll go and make it hunt me, as long as it's not all my equipment in there. She said I'm the best at looping. If it's a Dio, I love a good loop. It's just fun. It's just fun. I love feeling scared. That's why I play a lot of horror games. I love that adrenaline rush of feeling scared from something that can't hurt you at all. It's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's and I'm all good for that. But for me, I have to have the cheap jump scares. Like, so I spent 10 years as a paramedic. So I spent 10 years in a lot of life or death decision making, high adrenaline, and everything's spike running up there. So I have to go from here to here in order to get a rise out of me. And if it's atmospheric or anything else like that, I'm like, dude, it's not any worse than cutting an arm off. What are you going to do?
I mean, in the defense of the rest of us, most of us don't have that reference point to draw back from. So
yes. So this is why I play the cheap jump scare games. I understand they're cheap jump scares, but if I want to be actually terrified, it's got to jump out from behind me and scare the living crap out of me. Otherwise, I'm like, whatever.
That's fair.
Then otherwise, you just get laughing lunatic Nori. And which is what
Nothing
my
wrong with
last
that.
Phasma group had, was Laughing Lunatic Nori, and they were like, yeah, this is not nearly as much fun as we thought it was going to be.
I think the group that I played Demonologist with, guys, you'll hate me for this. I didn't find it scary at all. I'm really sorry. It wasn't. I enjoyed it. It was good fun, but I did not find it scary at all. It would probably be very different if I was on my own, but I'm sorry. I tried. I really tried to be scared. But I think that makes me boring then to watch when I'm streaming because something will jump out and I'll just go, oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's nice.
Thing
Good
there.
for you.
Yeah.
Hello. Right. Good to see you.
Yes, Danny, it was still fun. I had a good time, don't worry. You'd have been able to tell if I didn't. I was concentrating, I was learning, but I had fun. It was good fun.
Well, and there's definitely, like, I think horror games just in general, the first time you play them, you definitely are scared. Like, if you want to get like the best reactions out of people, watch them when they play a horror game for the first time. They're going to be panicked. They're going to be like terrified of every sound that they hear. They're going to jump at everything. Like, that's when you want to watch somebody do a horror, is their first game session of that. After that, the more you play it, the more you get used to the sounds. You're like, oh, okay, I know what that is, or I know what this effect is, or you build up a tolerance for it, as it were.
Yeah.
So it becomes less of a terrified sort of thing. Again, it's fine. I do think some people chase that adrenaline hit from being terrified. So they'll play a horror game until it stops being scary and stops giving them that adrenaline hit, and then they go find something else.
Yeah. That's
and
fair.
I think it is. There was a reason why we had what we called adrenaline junkies on the back of the ambulance. You can always tell them because they were the first ones to the call. Like, they wanted that high from all the adrenaline spiking to your system, and that's fine. Just, I'd rather have the guy with the level head on his shoulders, not the one chasing the high.
Yeah, I mean, as a paramedic, definitely. Martin just saying Fargus playing Madison for the first time. Fargus playing Madison for the first time was just about 2 hours of him just hiding in the menu, going, hell no, hell no, hell no. I cried. The first time I played Phasmo with Fargus, I literally tears streaming down my face. He was too scared to do the what's it called? The tutorial. He found the tutorial scary. And then we went into a match and we got stuck. Hello, Jazzy. We got stuck in a perma hunt. And he was just sat in the corner. Oh my God. It was so good. It was so good. And that's one of those, you feel really mean laughing, but it was funny. It just was.
It is funny. There's no need to feel mean laughing. Let's okay. We're gonna let out a few trade secrets here, but I mean, as streamers, right? One of the things that we tend to focus on is making certain that people who are watching are having a good time and laughing along with us, right? So terror is funny. Watching people get scared is funny. It's just it is a thing. So yeah, it might not be fun for us when we're doing it because we're terrified and begging your pardon. Excuse me a second. I've got to run to the toilet. But people are going to laugh about that. It's fine.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Carmine 2361 would like to know, Carmine, you can't ask that question. That's my question. You get denied. He's like, why the name Red Fox Heritage? No, that's question one. And you should know this because you had Talk Tuesday already. Get out of my questions.
You've been on this, Carmine.
You bad boy.
I want to follow up to the question that I asked Carmine. I still don't understand, Carmine, why you think I'm scary. I don't think I'm scary at all.
Well, okay.
Not at all.
So I can help Carmine in this if you would like.
I'm terrified. Why am I terrified? I don't understand why. Do I give off just
No.
aggressive energy or something?
No, I don't think it's anything like that. It's probably as simple as, so there are times where very confident, self-assured females can be intimidating to some guys. It's just the way it is, right? And so that's probably all it is. You are a very confident, self-assured individual, so it's very easy to see where you could be intimidating to some men.
Carmine, I love you. You're safe. Don't worry. You're all good. Also, AJ, I am not cool at all, but thank you.
Are you kidding me? Ice cold. The chillest. The illest of the chillest.
No.
That's some old lingo. It's fine. It's fine. Solarsis would like to know, are you planning on reopening the Etsy store in the new year?
It's a good question. It takes... I mean, I used to make to order. I did just say, God damn it. It's like that game where you can't say yes and no. I used to make to order because I used to allow the dice to be fully customizable and things that I did to be fully customizable. I do not have the time for that now, between the fact that I have a job now and that I stream. It would have to be pre-made things. It might be that I would open the shop for commissions for people that I know. But also, big thanks to the EU for introducing a ton of new quality assurance guidelines, which in itself is not a problem, but they haven't been made with any thought for small makers and small shops. On a side note, it's going to destroy some people's jobs, basically their income. I used to sell a huge amount of things to Germany, and then I had to stop selling to Germany because Germany introduced packaging laws that meant that you had to register with some big umbrella company to verify your packaging, that it was recyclable. I didn't make enough money to be VAT registered here in the UK. So I didn't have the cash to be able to do that. So I had to cut off, which for a long time really dented my income. And even then, I sold a huge amount to the US, but there was a lot to France, to Italy, to Spain, to Norway. A huge amount when I was selling before went to the EU, and now that can't happen until they sort themselves out, basically. Not that umbrella company, Carmine. We're not wandering into Resident Evil territory. Basically, it will cut off lots of small sellers on places like Etsy who can't afford to pay for this person to verify their products. So it could well be that I have to send them as gifts to people, and if people want something, I can make something and send it as a gift, because that won't have the same stipulations on. And if you don't live in the EU, maybe we're golden and we're sorted. We'll see. I don't know. But it's a very long-winded way of saying maybe. I'm dependent, maybe. If people are interested, though, I can certainly look into it.
That's fantastic. It seems like with the way the world is going and this way of commerce is going right now and everything else, it would seem like the only reason to pick on small businesses by enacting things of that nature is because they're trying to target larger corporations in order to force compliance onto them, because they're taking shortcuts. But unfortunately, it hurts somebody else in a smaller branch. There should be a nice, easier way to handle that.
There should, as far as I'm concerned, if you need to have this verification, and I don't think that's bad in and amongst itself, because
no.
Etsy's taken a little bit of a downturn where it sells a lot of mass-produced crap from China these days, which was completely against the whole point of what Etsy was supposed to stand for.
Right.
That's a separate rant all on its own. But there should be a kind of a sliding scale of if your income is below, from your shop, from your business is below X amount, then the amount it costs to have your products checked should be X amount, rather than just here is a blanket fee for everybody and that's what everybody has to
Right.
pay for. Because it just means that some businesses will never get a chance to flourish at all because they will not be able to make enough to afford to be able to sell their products to the EU, which is where they could grow their profit and make enough to be able to
Right.
pay to be able to sell things in the EU. So it's short-sighted, essentially. Very, very short-sighted.
It sounds extremely short-sighted. It sounds like you're lack of a better term, cutting off your arm to spite your elbow.
Absolutely.
It just
all they care about really is the money, and so there's plenty of bigger businesses that will be able to pay for it, and so for them, smaller companies, whatever, doesn't
for them
doesn't
runs
register.
Smaller companies out then that just that much less what's the word I'm looking for? Competition. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Like there's a word here.
Yeah. Yeah. Not good.
It's a shame. It really is. That's not really ideal. I would almost, but I mean that's how the big companies continue to make their profit margins. Is they have to stamp out all their competitions. Like I used to work for a company that was very niche market space, and when I say niche market space, there may have been, I think, 2 or 3 other competitors in the market space. Like it was seriously that niche of a market space, and we always had to come up with something revolutionary, groundbreaking constantly in order to keep from being stamped out by everybody else. Because it was, we were all basically fighting over the same, I want to say 12 large scale customers. And when I say large scale, I mean, one of our customers was Pixar Studios.
Wow. Yeah.
Like we're talking about an extremely niche. There are 12 companies that exist in that, and there are 3 vendors that are fighting for the same 12 people.
Yeah.
But we're talking like millions and billions of dollars worth of transactions, and even in that market space, it was always about how can we get rid of, and the way it got to at one point, it was impossible for anybody to come into the space. If you weren't already part of the space, you weren't getting into it because it was just, you had no foot traffic to get in there. It was terrible.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's almost, I'm not gonna say it's the same thing, but it's got to be kind of pretty close to that.
I think it depends on what you're making as well. I was constantly waiting for an Ubisoft cease and desist that never came, because I was making Orlog dice and was making not good money, but a reasonable amount of money. I probably massively undercharged for the amount of time they took. But then they launched their own boxed Orlog game. I was thinking, oh god, here we go, that's the end of that then. No, everybody bought the boxed Orlog game, found the dice in it were made of plastic, and were coming and being like, can we have a wooden set to replace it? So if anything, it boosted my profit. So really piss poor quality of the game. Thanks Ubisoft. Cheers.
Thank you for the extra money in my pocket,
basically.
It's fine though, but that works. I mean, it does a nice job. I would not complain about a company, putting out a terrible product so that I can make more money. Thank you.
It helped.
Drastically so. Now, that's a good one. We're gonna side trip away from your Etsy store business for just a moment, because Miss Jillian B666. I had to stop. I had to get out of the habit because some of these questions come from people I already know, and I'm like, I'm just going to use their nickname. And then other ones, I'm like, no, read out the full name. I need to get standardized. Nori, behave yourself. Jillian B666 would like to know, what is your least favorite game? One you wouldn't want to play.
I don't know if I know the answer to that. There must be. Sorry, my brain's whirring. There must be something that I've played before and just thought that's so terrible. And my brain. Hang on, let me get Steam up.
You're fine.
So there's definitely been some things before that I've started and just gone, nah, never playing that again. I could have a welcome to Kowloon. Yeah, Danny, you're correct. I probably would not. I probably would not play that. It's just not my. It's not my thing. I can't think of anything. Most games have got something redeeming. I would have said when Cyberpunk first came out, Cyberpunk 77. Is that right? 77. When that first came out, I would have said that. They've redeemed themselves now, but that was so bad. Star Citizen. How long has that game been in development? How much money have they made to make that game? And what does that game look like? Nope. My other half has it and made his friend get it. And they both got stuck in prison for 7 hours. Logging out made nothing happen. I appreciate the idea of a crowdsourced game, but honestly, at what point are you just taking people's money? I know they released that beautiful trailer, it's probably like a year ago actually now. But that beautiful seamless trailer that went for a very long distance and there was no buffering or loading screens. But is that what everyone's paid for?
Look, I bought into Star Citizen over 6 years ago when they initially launched the starter kit for it and everything. I got one of their early initial ships and everything else. I was so excited for the game. And then I watched and I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited. And after a point, I was like, I'm done waiting.
Yeah.
And then they're like, anyone... oh, yeah, come spend more money here. I'm like, why? You haven't even given me what you already charged me for. No, go away.
Yeah. Yeah. If anyone has never played Star Citizen or doesn't know what it is, it's ferociously beautiful, but it's not a game. It's just a system of stuff that you can walk around. That's all it is. And it crashes. And there are some pretty horrendously massive bugs. And it has been in development. I should have Googled this as I was talking about it. We've got to be like millions and millions of pounds now that they've raised from people.
Oh yeah.
And there is still no game at all.
Yep.
It's other
still
games
very much a work in progress.
Work in progress, yes. Someone's working, but it's not on the game. Danny, I played the tutorial and immediately uninstalled it. It's for the best. It's for the best. The other games that I don't enjoy and have no real urge to play are any of, this is a really controversial opinion, any of the most recent Final Fantasy games. I was a huge Squaresoft fan.
Right.
And nothing that Square Enix has produced since then has really done it for me. I'm not saying they're bad. I just, in comparison.
At what point?
Anything past Final Fantasy X and not 10 Part 2, because we pretend that 10 Part 2 doesn't exist. I think because I wasn't a big 7 player. I came in on 8. I came in on Final Fantasy VIII. And I've played some of 7 since, but hello, sibling. But 8 felt so different to anything else that I'd played at that point. And then 10, Final Fantasy X is still my second. It used to be number 1. It's been bumped down to number 2 by BG3. And so many of them afterwards, especially, I quite liked the turn-based aspect of it, and now they're not turn-based. And don't give me a game where my Aeons or Guardian Forces or whatever they called them, I don't remember. Like, why is Shiva suddenly a motorbike? Like, I just, it's a personal thing. It's not suggesting that other people shouldn't play it, and it's not suggesting that they're bad. But it's a bit like when you've been friends with someone and they've been like really good friends with you, and then they change into something that you just like, oh my God, I can't stand this. That is what, to me, most of the most recent Final Fantasy, and like the Final Fantasy Online one, tried it. I just can't do it. So that's a purely personal thing.
Hey, no, there's nothing wrong with that. So I did the Final Fantasy 14 online. I love some of the aspects. My big, so at that time I was still big and heavy into all my MMORPG games I was playing. So we're talking like EverQuest, World of Warcraft, Dungeons and Dragons Online. There was a whole Star Wars Galaxies, right? So this was all about the same time, and I started playing 14. And I love the fact that in 14 I could play any class without having to go and start a new class, which is fantastic. I'm like, from an MMO player standpoint, that was godsend, because now I could just, I don't have to split all of my, I don't have to split my time between other characters, and all I had to do is change out the weapon I'm using, and yay, off I go. And that was great. So I thought that was fantastic. I got fed up and stopped playing because I got to a point in the game where, like, yes, in order to progress the campaign story, you have to now go run this 40-man raid, and, you know, good luck finding people to go do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, what? Huh?
Yeah.
How's that? No.
It's for the same reason that I stopped playing World of Warcraft. I used to play World of Warcraft back in the day. I was almost exclusively a night elf hunter. Love the night elves. The butchering of Teldrassil is traumatic.
Teldrassil, yes.
Yeah. And I loved the questing and running around and the open worlding and the variety, and it was just it's escapism, right? It's pure escapism.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then I get to the point, it's like, okay, but there's no story left now, and I just have to go and do instances or raids with some really toxic people. And for anyone who's ever played World of Warcraft and has played as a hunter, there's only so many times I can get called a huntard before I'm like, I'm out, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Well, I can't say that. I ran around as this is actually going to kind of sound funny, all things considered. My main was also a night elf. I was a night elf feral druid.
Oh, like it. Like it.
Yes, ladies, I was feral before I was ever on Twitch.
We just helped. That's all it was.
It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, so
you could say it comes naturally.
But so yeah, I mained as a feral druid up until they released Death Knights, and I was still main feral druid. Like that was my primary character. That was, if I was doing anything, I was like, my feral druid was cap level before everybody else, did all of the heroic grades, did everything. And then when I got bored with them, then I would swap over to my Death Knight. And I remember leveling my Death Knight and looking at the specs. So I have been, the role I play in a group has always been a tank. I've been a tank for 20 plus years in MMOs. Like I was helping design tank mentalities and whatnot back in beta days of EverQuest in the early 90s when that game came out. Like that was where we were like, oh, okay, so here's how mob behavior works. Here's going to be the rules of the guys who are going to be the frontline fighters, and here's how, here's the things that we need to keep in mind, and here's how you hold attention, and like all of that mob mentality stuff. Like that was where I was back in the original group as we were talking about all this stuff, which was fun. So when Death Knights came out, I was looking at the different spec trees. I'm like, oh, well, this is obvious, right? Blood spec Death Knights got all of this heal baked into the class and all this other stuff. I'm like, they're going to be like huge threat magnets. That's the tank class. That's the spec I'm going to play. They have nothing for DPS. They're lousy DPSers. I'm like, yeah, perfect, Death Knight. I had people leave the group because I'm like, I'm tanking. They're like, but you're blood spec, you're DPS. I'm like, no.
Oh,
God, no, why? And we would have healers quit. We would have DPSers quit. We're like, no, Your blood, nah. And your tanking, no way. And I had my partner played a Frostbite Death Knight, and we ran duos together. And so we used to have to tell people that, look, if I can't hold threat, then they'll take over. And invariably, halfway through the dungeons, the healer would complain that he's bored because there's nothing to do, because literally I had so much regen and everything baked into the class and my rotation and everything else that I didn't actually need a healer. And we're like, DPS, dude, you've got damaging spells, DPS. Don't talk to me. Don't complain. Go away.
Yeah. Actually, that would be a good answer to Gillian's question. Gillian, any game that forced me to play healer, Oof. It's a thankless job. It's a thankless job. It really is. No, not a chance. Not a chance. I think almost exclusively will only go for a DPS class. I don't want to tank. That's too much pressure. My skill isn't good enough to do that.
I love
DPS.
Tanking.
DPS.
I absolutely love tanking. But again, somebody's got to. B, I've got a tattoo on my back that says "Tank for Life."
That's amazing.
But it's again, I back when EverQuest was in the alpha and beta days, I was one of the original testers on there. I got to hang out and talk with the devs all the time. We learned about mob mechanics, and there was a group of us who were like, yes, and between paladins, the Death Knights, and the warriors, and we were figuring out how all of this worked and all this behavior for mob mentality, and then relaying all this information back to the developers, like, did you plan for your mobs to behave this way or do this thing? And so we got to talk to them on a one-on-one basis. It was so cool. But yeah,
nice, very nice,
all kinds of good stuff. But no, don't ask me to heal. I let people die.
Is stupid enough to get hit.
They're like, okay, so I'm healing. Right. You're the tank. Okay, so you get 90% of the heals. You're DPS. Did you get hit? Did you run in before the tank? No, you went off tech that group over there. Nah, you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll heal you when I get around to it. Oh, what? You died? You should have been fighting with the tank.
Yeah. And this is the fun of WoW Raid. So.
Yeah.
Can't be doing it.
Yeah. But it's always a good time. It's still fun. Any memorable experiences from like your MMO days? Anything in particular that jumps out at you?
Oh God, can I think of anything specific? I think there was an excitement of so for using World of Warcraft, I didn't really play many of the others. World of Warcraft was the main one that I did. There was something quite specific in the excitement of an expansion when those first few came out. That was suddenly there was new things to do and new classes that come out, and just that. How old was I when I started playing World of Warcraft? I think I was 17 when I first played, and it wasn't like anything else that I'd ever played before. I was a gamer girl, kind of closeted a little bit, because none of my female friends gamed at all. And so it was a boyfriend that I had at the time that introduced me to it. And I can remember me and him had a gaming laptop at one point, would sit next to each other with our laptops playing WoW. I think just that sense of getting to explore. I can't remember at which point I felt like every new expansion that came out after that just felt a bit meh in comparison, but some of those first ones, like Cataclysm and Wrath of the Lich King might have been my favorite one. just that kind of real because I feel like as well games didn't. It's gonna make me sound really old now, just as Grandma Foxy. Games didn't come out as often as they did. So if we think about like, oh god, why is the name gone out of my head? Black Ops and games like that would come out almost a game every year. In the end, the frequency is so massive. Back when I started playing WoW, I don't feel like big games came out that regularly.
Well, no, because back in those days, the sphere of developers and game studios was much smaller. Nowadays, if you look at some of the game development studios out there, they've got hundreds, thousands of developers working on games. They're cranking these things out like hotcakes.
Yeah,
it's
Jazzy's changing my name to Grandma Foxy. Thanks, Jazzy. I appreciate that. But I think that's a very non-specific answer. But I think it's just the excitement of having this big. I mean, from the perspective of a relatively new gamer at that point, there wasn't anything else I played that was that big and that open world. I guess maybe you could count RuneScape sort of up there, but I only ever played free RuneScape, so I didn't have the paid version. So WoW was this massive kind of step up from that. And just that excitement of enjoying, when new things come out. Oh, Mr. Pandaria. I liked Mr. Pandaria because I thought the environment of Mr. Pandaria was pretty.
Okay, the world was pretty. The fact that they had to bring pandas into this game, I'm like, okay, look, I understand. We just finished having Jack Black do a panda. I don't want Jack Black in my video game.
None of us played as one though, right? None of us were actually a panda. You'd play as something else and then you'd go over there. You wouldn't actually, the environment was very pretty. So that's a reasonably lame answer. Things that stand out are wandering out into the world when you leave. If you're starting places at Night Elf, which obviously doesn't exist anymore, wandering around in the world, and still when I hear the Night Elf music, it still does a little flutter in my stomach. It's one of those things. It's such a defining moment in my gaming history that music still makes me feel something. Even
nostalgia,
now. Yeah. And then Duskwood, Duskwood. The spooky place.
Darkshire.
I like the spooky things. Darkshire, thank you. Loved going and questing in there. Loved it. So there we go.
Did you? So I take it you didn't go do the WoW Classic then that they released?
No, I think Jack. So Jack, my other half, I think he got it, and then it was such an exaggerated argument between classic lovers and people that are like, no, everything's moved on and changed now. It's like either you enjoy one, you can enjoy both. I didn't understand why there had to be this huge argument, and it felt like a really toxic community.
So what drove me nuts when they released Classic, right? And Classic came out, and I jumped in there and played in Classic. I'm like, oh yes, we can go back to the glory days. And so going back in there and running through Teldrassil and doing all the quests like they used to be, like the World of Warcraft that I knew, was fantastic, was great. I loved it. The thing that drove me nuts was watching all of the I hate to say it this way, but I'm going to, all the kids that heard all the stories from us older WoW players, from those of us who were like, yes, back in my glory days, right? So now they're trying to get in there and live the glory days. And they're like, this is so hard. This is so painful. What is this? And all I hear is complain. And then they play their characters like they do in current WoW. And I'm like, that doesn't work that way. Yeah. And so you watch them train and then die over and over again. And they whine, they complain, they moan. You're like,
Yeah.
No, sir. No.
Bless their hearts.
I hope that has the same meaning that it does over here for you guys. It's fine. It's fine. Misfits of Mayhem would like to know your favorite historical fact or era in history, if you don't have a specific fact, and why.
The tough choice. I am a big medievalist. You can see my bow right there. That is a medieval bow. Just there.
No, actually, you're pointing it out, but it's just cut off on the screen.
Oh, over there.
I can see it.
Hang on.
I can see it. They can't.
Here is my medieval bow, which I will unwrap for you. I am a big medievalist. That encompasses early medieval, so basically just after the Romans, so Saxons, Vikings, up until high medieval. I also quite love the Tudors. People think the Tudors are boring because they're overdone, but the Tudors are it's an immensely impressive time period because so much of what we think of as modern life gets its proper foundations back in the Tudor period. There we go. Here is my very beautiful.
Oh, that is gorgeous.
Medieval recurve bow. I do have a bow. I also have tipped arrows behind me. Yeah, so the Tudors with the rise of the middle classes and
Foxy can take you at 100 paces.
I can. Well, I'll give it a go anyway. I'm going to go on a bit of a history wax lyrical now.
Go for
Henry VIII, we all know about Henry VIII because of his wives and the fact that he tended to be a bit of a tyrant and his break with Rome. For me, the reason why Henry VIII is such a remarkable ruler, and it's partly due to pure laziness. That man would only read what we call like a précis of a document. So somebody had to read the complicated part and basically write it down in a few lines to explain what it was he was reading because he couldn't be bothered to read the whole thing. Because he was never meant to be king. So he was raised as if he was going to go into the church, but he was raised to enjoy himself and have fun. It's what made him the perfect Renaissance king because he loved the dancing, the music. He was never brought up to take things seriously because his older brother Arthur was supposed to be king. So he was very lazy, and that meant he relied on other people to run the country for him. But very uniquely compared to almost every medieval monarch prior to him, and I'll be careful about saying nearly every because it is by the time we get past the Saxons, because the Saxons did things slightly differently. There was this big obsession with status and blood status, and you had to be, of the nobility for yourself to get a position in court. And sometimes that meant they were really good at it, but there's a shit ton of inbreeding in the nobility back then. And you would have some fairly questionable characters, and you would have people that had this huge amount of power who were not intelligent and probably quite dangerous. And Henry VIII was very unique in that he picked people who were good at the job, irrespective of their social background. So both Cardinal Wolsey and Thomas Cromwell, who are his two big, most well-known officials, were both from very, very, very humble backgrounds, and the nobility hated them for that reason, and both were brought down by the nobility. For precisely that reason, they had all this power over the king and how to run the country, but it's because they were intelligent men who knew how to do the job. And so for me, that makes Henry really interesting. That, like I say, it comes from laziness, but he wanted things done well. And for him, he looked at his nobility and said, none of you are doing this for me. And so picked men from very obscure backgrounds. Thomas Cromwell's father was a blacksmith, and that's very humble, very, very, very humble beginnings. And that man was ferociously intelligent. So I do have a bit of a soft spot for the Tudor period. I could talk about it for hours and hours and hours and hours. There we go. That kind of encompasses your historical facts there as well. Moving forwards, I do quite love the Victorian period. Again, that time of massive, massive social change. I mean, we destroyed the climate with the Industrial Revolution, but industrialization is the reason why we are all sat here watching a computer today and seeing me on your screen. Hello. So it's a huge, huge period of social change. And And then I also have a slight soft spot for the 20s and 30s. That post World War I shift in society is pretty awesome.
The Roaring Twenties was actually a fascinating period. Even here in the U.S. was a
prohibition. Wild.
Oh my word!
The notion, as a British person, the notion that you could get a whole country to go, well, I suppose they didn't, but to enforce a law across the country that says you can't drink, it would not fly here. It would not fly here.
It didn't fly very well here either.
It's true. That is true. That is true.
Let's be fair. Night, Danny. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, love.
And AJ, I adore you too.
Like that, it did not fly very well here. Prohibition did not, but it was still fascinating to watch. And what made it even more fascinating was the lengths of ingenuity makers of alcohol would go to make the alcohol. Like. And this is like a conversation I've had before and I'll probably have it again. Like, if you want something to go away, and you can look at historically back, and you can look at every time that we have done this thing where we don't like something. So what do? We create a law. Lovely cat.
It's Loki. He was being a pain on the desk, so I've got to hold him for a minute.
It's fine. It's fine. If there's something that you don't like, something going on, and there needs to be a law passed to stop it, you're doing it wrong. If you want that thing to go away, and you can look back and look at the ingenuity of humanity in general, the things that go away quickest are not the things that you outlaw. It's the things that you embrace. Because when you embrace it, what ends up happening is you then invite people to go, oh, well, we can now do this better. And so now they make something else that's better. And that thing kind of goes away and is lost to histories and is gone.
Yeah.
That's the easy way to get rid of it. Like, just embrace it. It's here. It's going to be a fad. It'll come and go. And then once it's gone, just don't talk about it. We'll just keep on going. Instead, we make laws and we try to outlaw and we try to illegalize and demonize people that do X, Y, or Z or any of these things. And all that does is draw more attention to it, make it more interesting, make it something that people want to do. And something that could have been done in like 2 or 3 years now has been sitting around for a couple hundred years, and we're still fighting the same stupid losing war.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my TED talk. I'm out now.
It's a bit like is it Spain? I think it's Spain that decriminalized, and that's not mean to say that it's acceptable, but changed how they viewed drug taking. So that it was more of a treatment process rather than a punishment, and found that the number of convictions they got massively dropped.
Yeah.
Because then it was helping people rather than making it this big taboo subject.
Well, and we have a couple of states that have legalized certain drugs and recreational stuff. And, what they have found in doing that is that they instead have embraced it and threw a tax on it and treated it like any other commodity that you can get your hands on. And now they've got more money than they know what to do with. And things are getting better. And people are not abusing it. Hey, you just made it. Well, now that it's okay for me to do it, I'm not interested anymore.
Yeah.
Like that's
it's
kind of the way that happens.
None of us have grown out of that like type of person. That it ties into the same thing of you wake up one day when you're younger and you think, I'm going to tidy my room today. And then one of your parents says, you need to tidy your room. And you're like, I'm not doing it now.
Nope. Out.
It's the same thing. It's like, I want to do that. No, you're not that. You can do that now. No, not first time. So.
Yeah, you've given me permission. No, I'm out.
Yeah. It's not cool anymore.
But I mean, it's just the way it is, though. I mean, that is how we behave as a creature. It's rather fascinating like I love anthropology and I love looking back, because I think the only way to learn about tomorrow and what's going to happen tomorrow is understanding where we came from. And the more you understand where we came from, the more you can understand and predict where we're going, just because based on behavior alone.
Preach. I agree. It was as a really interesting factor to the pandemic that obviously we've just gone through, of lots of studies that were done into previous pandemics, and most specifically looking at the 1918 Spanish flu epidemic, where they then discovered that pandemics weirdly put fantastic immunity for that generation ready for the next pandemic that hits. So we've lived kind of artificially pandemic free in the West, at least, for quite a long time. But they couldn't work out why the Spanish flu in 1918 was killing a disproportionate number of young people compared to old people, until they realized there'd been another pandemic at some point in the kind of mid to late 1800s. And all the older people had the immunity that they'd had built in from the fact that they'd survived that previous pandemic, and so weren't being as affected so much by the Spanish flu. And they also studied lots of movements of people and transmission and things like that, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So
history's
a great teacher if people are willing to listen to it.
Exactly. History is a fantastic... I think it's also worthwhile to keep in mind that you can understand your... Oh, Vakush. I was like, what? What is this they're asking for? I got it. There we go. Vakuumed. Done. Make the pieces nice and nice. Nerd. It just... But it's still one of those, like, it's always a fascinating... It's a very fascinating when you sit down and you think about, okay... the sad part about it is as much as we know about where we came from. And I will put this out here as like the big caveat to history too, because the unfortunate side about history is, while it does tell us an awful lot, we also have to look at history with a grain of salt, because the history is always written by the victors. You don't ever get both sides of the tale. And so you can't always look at history and go, well, okay, so there was this war, these guys won, so they lost, so they're obviously the bad guys. It doesn't work that way. It's a disagreement. And like any other argument out there, there's always two sides to the story. And so it's important to learn as much as you can about history. It's also important to understand, to keep a very open mind with history in general, to understand that the facts that you're reading now are facts for one side, because that's the side that won. And very rarely do we ever get to see or hear about the other side and why all of this came about. I always find it fascinating to learn about, like, why things are the way they are and how we came to this point. And getting all of the information, not just some of it. It's always good to educate yourself. But B, it's really good to understand the entirety of the picture, because then as you move forward, making your own choices, coming up with your own ideas and thoughts and plans on how to proceed forward, you can do this with an awareness of, okay, these are the ripple effects that are going to happen from choices I'm going to make. Yeah. And I don't know if I said that very well.
I think that was very, very clear. If anybody in chat is interested in politics and more politics, because the thing is, when people say they're not interested in politics will still affect you. And the politics of today is the history of tomorrow, basically. I would really recommend never just exposing yourself to the point of view that you agree with. If you have a certain political leaning, don't just listen to how people who follow that same political leaning are presenting things. Listen to all angles, every side, because the truth, like you say, it sits somewhere more in the middle. And the only way you can work out what you think is the correct versions of things is by having all of that information. So there we go. That's my takeaway. It's as if I'm talking to students. when I was still teaching, when you were never allowed to give your political opinion. And I try not to online because I think I love politics, and if people are ever interested in off stream having a political conversation, I am right there.
Politics is a very charged subject, so it's not something that you want to have in a forum that's supposed to be entertainment, right?
Exactly.
Unless, of course, that is exactly what your form of entertainment is. Now, there are actual political shows, and I would say, you know, fine, go watch your political shows.
Yeah.
But I'm there with you. You want to talk politics? Yeah, sure, we can do it offline all day long. It's a very charged and heated discussion, and people do get passionate about it. My only take on that is, if we're sitting down talking politics, understand that I'm talking politics with a very open mind, and I like to look at both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
It's only fair.
Yep. Agreed.
Absolutely fascinating. Thank you, Mayhem. It was a wonderful deviation.
It was a good one.
Solarsis. I'll get this name right yet. Solarsis says, what is your favorite channel point redeem from you or any other streamer?
My favorite overall, I love Hales' tarot card redeem. I love it. I really enjoy the tarot card. I know other people do it, but I saw her do it first. So for me, yeah, Hales' tarot card redeem. I think I've told her that before, and her stream is my favorite. Of mine, it's not the helmet, Carmine.
I think we actually got you to put both the helmet and the ears on one time, and it didn't last very long, and you were like, never again.
Oh no, they got me again. I had helmet, ears, and light up headband.
Wow.
The helmet is good. The thing is, the helmet is really heavy, and because I put overhead earphones on, I then can't hear anything, so I have to like play the sound through my headphones really loudly. Probably my favorite is the old favorites, the fox ears. It's simple. It's on brand.
It is on brand. I love them. I come in there, I hit the button all the time, and you always give me this look like, Nori.
It's because it's usually the redeem will pop up when I'm in the middle of doing something. So it's like, yeah, okay, put them on.
Yeah, okay. Tough it out. You put it up there. Yeah. It's one of those, but I think all redeems, if you put the redeem in there, right? It's one of those, you put it in there, you're going to expect somebody to push it. How often they push it, what they decided to push the button for, you don't know. But it's there, you put it in there.
Yeah.
Has there been any redeems that you had on the channel that you pulled out? Because you were like, oh, this seemed like a good idea. And then people started hitting, and you were like, yeah, no.
I don't think there's been anything that I've removed long term. There has been a time where Carmine did redeem the fox helmet, and I think I had the worst headache. I was like, I've got to refund it because I just couldn't stand the weight of it on my head that day. I don't think there's been anything else. I don't think I've removed any of them. Generally speaking, if they're ones that I don't want to do often, they have really high point reward values. And at that point, if you have watched me enough to generate that many points, I'll go for it. I would deliberately never put something on there that's super demeaning or anything like that.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, as much as I don't necessarily love wearing the helmet, if people like seeing it and they've watched me enough to get the points to redeem it, I will give them that back to thank them for their time. So.
No, okay. Well, I mean, it's just like I had a redeem for they called it Gnome Time, which is where the little gnome emote comes from. Where I talked in that high pitched squawk that everybody likes to listen to and they laugh about.
I've never heard that.
You've never heard the gnome voice.
God, I love it so well. You'll be glad that redeem's not there anymore then, because I'd be redeeming that a lot.
It stayed on cooldown. Legitimately stayed on cooldown, which is fine. Everybody loved it. Some people hated it, and some people actually left the stream when the redeem was like, oh wait, they've hit.
No way.
No, I can't. Nope. And they would leave the stream because they couldn't stand the voice. I'm like, that's fair. That's fair.
That's a very strong reaction to a voice.
Okay,
Very
so
strong.
it's not just a voice though, because there was a whole like Gnome Time actually there was a personality that went along with it. So the guy's name is Blake, and Blake's this little hyperactive gnome, and so he talked in a high pitched voice, but he talked like a million miles an hour, talked in circles,
Okay, got you.
ran crazy. It was a whole spiel, and some people loved it, other people really hated it. I eventually pulled it out, not because people hated it, but I pulled it out because it hurt my throat.
That's fair. Yeah, that is fair. Yeah.
After doing that, for 5 minutes, every other 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair.
That's it's a little harsh.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more. I was just, that's where I was like, oh, okay. Was there something like you don't have to pull it out just because it was embarrassing or anything. It just physically, I just can't do that one anymore for whatever reason. And so, I still have the gnome voice. I still do it on occasions, but it's not a regular thing. It's more of a, here you go. Here's something to laugh at.
I don't know that I haven't been streaming that long now. I think I've just gone over 6 months, maybe 7 months now. I started in May. So it may well be that the longer I stream, I might get to the point of just saying, I don't want to put that Viking helmet on, that's going. But so far, no, nothing's been removed. Not that I can remember, at least. If anyone can remember something that you used to be able to redeem that you can't now, but I don't think there's anything at all that's been.
Well, that's fair. I mean,
off yet.
You never know. Had any good ideas for future redeems you might be thinking of?
That'd be telling. You have to watch. A few. Yeah, a few. But I'm not going to divulge any of them now, just because then if it doesn't happen and people are expecting it, I've put it out there. So
there's no guarantee on anything that's said here, right? A lot of we're talking in potentials.
I'm still not going to say.
But that's fine. It's again, I'm not pushing. You said no. We're on to the next one. Especially since that was my question anyway, so it's fine. Carmine2361 would like to know, which friends will you bring in a battle royale or an apocalyptic event?
You've thrown my question back at me.
That does tend to happen a little bit around here.
Friends that I would take into, I mean, I'd have to take Fargus. Fargus is the meat shield.
You heard it here first, Fargus. You get to be lunch.
Fargus isn't an angry person, but Fargus, I think, certainly has it in him when the temper snaps that you're like, I want you on my side, not against me. Basically. I mean, Danny, for similar reason. I think Danny could fuck some shit up quite extensively.
Apparently, you and Carmine have the same opinion on that one. That's
yeah. I think Nick Naki. I think very tactically brained. Would be great at that side of things, and then kind of feel like I'm going to really insult anyone that I don't pick, because probably all of you, any of you that turn up to a stream, I'd expect. Not expect, that's the wrong word. I would presume that you would not turn tail and start fighting against me halfway through if you're someone that spends time with me. I'd probably take I'd definitely take Tasha. Tasha's one of those people that seems quite quiet, but I think in the moment would for sure. Sorry, it's Loki back again.
No, you're fine.
I don't know. You didn't tell me how big the team could be.
You're right. He did not. He just said which friends.
All of you. I mean, I'd have to take AJ and Carmine and Crimmy as well, just because I feel like as a group, their protective nature towards each other would make them fierce. So
be honest with you,
formation.
I would be more afraid of putting them all together because and here's my take on this, right? You put those in the same group together, you have Carmine falling on the sword, so he's already dead before anybody gets a chance to do anything. You weenie, why'd you die that quickly? Right? As soon as Carmine throws himself on the sword to save Krim, Krim's going to be right there beside him as part of the meme, jumping on the same sword. We'll have Danny running around with said sword, trying to kill as many people as you want. That's where you get scary at.
Yeah.
Until Danny gets overwhelmed because Danny's off on her own crusade. One-man army, maybe, but not for very long. So, like, we put these three right there in the same group, and they've all taken themselves out in the first 5 minutes. I
feel like AJ Manov, I feel like you have a slight natural leaning towards pacifism as well. I could be wrong.
Go ahead, Krim. Tell me I'm wrong. Elf, that's a funny way of using that redeem.
I know. The facade is working, AJ. Pokes, you can't. Sorry, Cat's being. He wants to say hi to everybody. Say hi.
You're fine.
Hello. Oh, I don't know. You are the question now.
But
that's it. It's a question in amongst itself.
There you go.
I wouldn't take Mouse because Mouse would shoot me.
Yes. I would have to agree with that one. I would not. I would. Mouse would shoot you and then, show off his thongs after it was done with. Like, check these out now. Think.
Yeah. Although Mouse was very kind teaching me how to play yesterday. I think maybe slightly offended the rest of the group by suggesting I was the only serious ghost hunter. His words, not mine. But yeah, I feel like there'd be a lot of friendly fire with Mouse.
Possibly.
It's only ever happened like 5 times. That's probably 5 times more than I want in a battle royale. So.
Or he might be taking you out because you got too close to his tub.
Maybe. That's a fair point. Yeah. Maybe. Hopefully, Carmine, that answer satisfies you.
She walked in front of my gun.
It's not true. Bye, sibling. Feel better.
Bye, sibling. I hope you get to feeling better. Get some rest. Get to feeling well. Let's see. Martin 7885 would like to know, what is your most cherished / best stream moment up to now?
Oh. I'll pick one. Okay, this one's really self-indulgent, but I'd had a pretty rough week. I was playing Detroit Become Human. Loads of people were very kind because I'd had a bad week and they showed up, and I was already having a lovely stream. And then Fargus redeemed. So my scariest redeem, he redeemed the live singing redeem. And it was the first time it had been redeemed. And it's on there because I love singing, but I'm really bad at doing it for an audience. So it's like, this will force me to have to do it and get a bit desensitized to it. Mm-hmm. And everyone was so lovely. I think I cried quite a lot afterwards. I think there were lots of gift subs and things after that. Which, also to be clear, for people that give gift subs, for me, it's not about the money. And no one should ever feel like they need to do that. It's just the thought of somebody wanting to give that generosity to me, of all the people you could choose. I feel the same way whenever anyone watches a stream, like people being here now. To me, this is still a complete head fuck. That people are here and want to listen to me say anything because I'm actually just an idiot.
I would have to beg to differ.
it's just it's the donation of time and the thought and the sentiment behind it. And so that stream was very special. It'd been a very, very rough week. I'd had, I suppose I'm not going to go into the full story, but essentially being bullied quite badly on the internet at that point by a specific individual, and I'd had to deal with it. And it was painful because I detest confrontation of any kind.
Right.
And it was a tricky week. And yeah, it was just a combination of Vargas being kind, which he will take the piss out of me a lot. He is actually a kind person, but it doesn't always show on stream. It shows outside of stream, but on stream he's usually quite mean. It's just the thing we do. And then everybody being really lovely and kind, and doing that for the first time and having a really nice warm reception to it was. And I think knowing that I hit affiliate was also pretty cool because it happened reasonably quickly. So
well, and that's big ones. I think that's what I think it's fantastic, right? It's lovely. The one thing that people can spend the most for you and doing anything is showing up and being a part of a stream, hanging out, chatting, talking. Like the greatest gift that anybody can give is just being there and hanging out and being present. It means an awful lot to anybody who's doing this stuff. Because you don't have to be. There's so much other things that people can be doing, and life is always happening, and it's always busy.
And there are so many people on Twitch to choose from as well. If that's what you've chosen is to sit down, like I'm going to watch a stream tonight. The fact that people, even if I'm tabbed up with other people, the fact that I'm one of those tabs is just, I don't get it. Thank you all. I'm not going to try and talk you out of it. I don't understand it, but I'm grateful either way.
It's fantastic though, but it's always a good time, right? And it's always one of those, like, you stop and ask yourself, like, who am I that they're willing to take this time out? And then it kind of kicks you in the gut a little bit when you realize that you are somebody that they consider worthwhile and special, and somebody they want to spend time with. And it does tend to hit you in the feels when you get done, you signed off, and you're like, man, there was so many people in here, and I feel bad because I couldn't get to them all. And then you're like, but there was so many people, and why? Because you yourself are an absolutely fantastic and amazing person, and why not?
Stop, but thank you.
Good luck. That my stream, that doesn't work around here. By the way, anybody wondering, that's not a hot beverage in that cup. She's already fooled me once already.
I did. It's Fanta. I'm such a bad Brit. I don't like tea. I don't like coffee, and I can't drink coffee. And I don't have any hot chocolate, so it's Fanta in my mug. But if I hold it like this enough, you'll think it's hot tea. I will have tea very occasionally. Very occasionally. Yes, Carmine, my Fanta that is yellow, not orange. We had that discussion too.
Yeah.
Hot chocolate is good. You know, our Fanta... no, our orange is the same color as oranges, like how they naturally occur. Not dark red.
Yeah, no. Well, so there are blood oranges that are red.
True. That is true. But what gets put in food in the US, honestly, to those of us outside of it, is terrifying. Yeah,
so the red that goes into our food, red dye number 4, is actually made up of bugs. The more you know, the less you want to know.
Yeah, nice little crushed up dried beetles.
Yeah. Yum.
That summoned a Loki back again. He's like, what? Beetles?
Beetles? Yummy. Look, we used to eat an awful... I've eaten some weird things over. I don't see anything wrong with eating bugs, right? And I say this because there are certain areas of the world where, you know, that's where you get your protein from. It is important that you need protein. You need a well balanced diet, and protein is one of those things. And so, some parts of the world, that's exactly where you get it from, is eating bugs.
Yeah.
We just made Elf choke on hot chocolate.
Hopefully, it's not red hot chocolate. Then you're fine. You know what I don't understand about American food?
Mm-hmm.
Corn syrup. Why is that in everything?
Because they wanted to. So we grow a lot of corn here in the U.S., and when you look for a cheap sweetener, you make the sweetener out of the thing that you produce the most of, and corn happens to be right up there. So
I really love the difference between like American with corn syrup, and then over here in Northwest Europe, we were like sugar beet. That's the way forward. A root vegetable. That's how we're going to handle this problem. It doesn't taste good. It doesn't taste good.
To be honest, I don't notice. So I grew up eating, and some of my viewers are going to yell about this, but I'm bringing it up again. I grew up eating fresh cut sugar cane.
Fair.
So to me, corn syrup, your beetroot syrup, and most other sweeteners don't taste the same at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm used to that's the sweet I want, is that fresh cut sugar cane. So it's not even the same animal there either.
Yeah.
It's just a sweetener. You kind of get. I find most things with corn syrup tends to be heavier, thicker.
Yeah.
And some things I'm okay with that. Like some of my sodas, when I used to drink a lot of real syrupy sodas, I was okay with that, and I didn't actually like the cane sugar syrup because it wasn't as thick. I'm like, no, I'm not good with that. Now that I've cut a lot of that corn syrup out of my diet, I find that I really just it's a thickness, it's a texture, and one I can live without. I'm like, it's okay.
I've tried a couple of things with it in, and it's not a pleasing flavor.
Yeah, to me, it's just sweet. It's not even a flavor. It's just sweet, and one I can deal without.
So Loki's just put one of his cat hairs in my eye. Sorry, while I attempt to fish it out.
You're fine.
Thanks for sharing, bud.
Doing his best. Doing his best.
Oh, I can see it. If anyone's got a phobia of people touching their eye, I'm really sorry. I got it though.
There it is. Right. But no, see, but it's the same thing for me, and like, people who are like, oh, pineapples are good, and we start talking about the difference between canned pineapples and fresh pineapples. Canned pineapples have a syrup, and that syrup has guess what, corn syrup. And it just the pineapple has absolutely no texture to it. It's just mush in the mouth, and so you're just slurping down syrup, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, agreed. Don't mention pineapples though. We'll start. If Ketsu's still here, we'll start the whole pineapple on pizza debate again, and I'm not sure I have the strength to go through this again.
It's fine. The Crimson Assassin would like to know, who's your favorite assassin?
Evie Frye.
I personally like Ezio.
Didn't even need to think about it. Evie Frye. Love Evie Frye. I think that Syndicate was a sinfully underrated game. Technically the last of the old school Assassin's Creeds that people think of as the traditional style of play. But there's some good ones, like Thingy Kenway, Jacob. No, my brain's not working. It's quite late here now. Sorry. Ezio is also amazing. I do also have a soft spot, of course, for Eivor, but Evie Frye. She's the way she's so Her clothing is awesome, like that kind of almost slightly steampunky, very high gothic Victorian. I'm all here for it. She fights with the cane sword, and she trips. She just got a really fluid way of fighting. So it's really cool that they made them so distinct, and you can switch between her and Jacob Fry. And he's much more brutish. She is just a badass without being overly sexualized. All about Evie Fry. By far my favorite. One of my favorite video game characters of all time, I would argue, and she's definitely my favorite assassin.
Very nice. Green Emerald Dragon. Oh, it's Greeny's favorite question to ask. Green
no.
Emerald Dragon would like to know, if you were ever isekai'd in a world of swords and magic and you get 5 skills and or gifts, what would it be and why?
Whoa. Does a weapon proficiency count?
Yep.
Bow. I will be sorcering or maging that shit up. So, bow. I'm not built for close combat. It's just not going to happen. So, if you do have a bow, you need a dagger too, because you've got to have something.
Right.
So that's 2. Sorry, I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
I was just laughing about it. I'm like, all of a sudden, I feel like Huntard comes to mind, and I'm like, that just sounds so.
Fuck you too.
Bravo.
And then we're talking spells for the others. So I'm quite. So I know people don't like thinking about relating to star signs particularly, but I feel I am quite a typical Aries of kind of takes the lead, very fiery, passionate is the word I'd like to choose. I'm not sure whether everyone would agree. If you ask Jack, he might give you a slightly different answer. Fire-based magic to me feels like where I would go naturally. It's tempting to say fireball, but I don't want to. I'm just going to say it. I don't want to fuck the whole room. People can take that out of context if they want to. But some kind of fiery spell. Mind reading. Some kind of mind reading or ability to impact people's thoughts kind of spell would be pretty cool. And some kind of flight too. Get some height for the bow, for the fiery spells. Some kind of flight.
So what I'm hearing is that you're the range specialist.
In every game, whether it's magic or straight up with a bow, I will always play range. If I could get away with it.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Warfare has always taught us that ranged units are always great for laying down early devastation against the opposing army.
That's what I'm here for. Early devastation. That's my goal.
There's nothing wrong with that. Carmine2361 would like to know, what is your favorite color?
Greedy
While
bluey.
you're at it, tell us the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow.
African or European?
God, I don't know that one.
Yeah, turquoisey colors, bluey, greeny, TV colors are my absolute fave. Basically any green with a bit of blue in it, or any blue with a bit of green in it, are my faves. Short and
That's
sweet.
fascinating. Like, that was not an answer I was expecting, but okay.
What were you expecting? Were you expecting to say red or orange?
No, actually, I was expecting a little bit more of a darker color, to be honest with you. But no, that was.
Yeah, that's fair. If we're talking about preference for like things that I wear, here is a good key of what 95% of my wardrobe looks like. I wear a lot of black. a lot of black. And jewelry stone wise, I do wear greeny things, but I've been on a red kick recently. But if I had to pick, cat hair all over my face. Yeah, my natural color that I get drawn to is a turquoisey color.
Okay, but see then, and my I'm not gonna say assumption, but my thoughts on your favorite color is based entirely on your outfits, the choice that we see on your stream. So I'm like, oh, that's a much lighter, more fun sort of color than I was expecting. That's all. I was not trying to insinuate anything.
I like to wear black. Yeah. I think it suits my coloring. I'm very pale. I've got bluey, greeny eyes. My hair looks a lot darker always on stream than it actually is. It's a little bit lighter in person. I just think the black suits and it goes with everything. And I am naturally still. I used to be a big goth when I was younger, and I don't think I've really kicked the habit. I don't think it ever goes from you.
No.
So I do love black. Black's up there as a color that I really enjoy. But yeah, turquoisey, and that could be dark. It doesn't have to be light color, but yeah, turquoise. It's a color that just kind of draws me in.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's one of those. I'm like, oh, learn something new. We like learning new things. That's the purpose of a Talk Tuesday.
It's true.
It's not to sit around and do puzzles for 3 hours. That's
Chat's being very restrained with the questions being asked. I expected more personal ones. That's not an invitation necessarily, but you were being very well behaved.
But that's it. Hi, drink.
Shall I answer that one straight away?
You're welcome to if you want.
Oh, I've just seen Krim asked that as a real question, and I'll answer it. Of course, drink as a penguin, obviously, naturally. What else would it be? I could be very precise and tell you it would be an Adelie penguin at that as well.
Oh,
cute and cheeky. Adelie penguins are really cheeky. Chumpkin,
hey,
hello.
Chumpkin, welcome in. That's fine. Chat asks the questions that chat wants to ask, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's always been one of those. It's interesting to find where, like, I find that the people that are really expressive like yourself and easier to talk to, chat doesn't really ask a lot of the deranged questions. The ones they ask the deranged questions to are the people that seem a little bit more uptight, like, oh, okay, you're not really giving out a whole lot. Here you go, here's a weird one to ask. Eat that.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Sorry, I just read Chumpkin's message. My Dimple, I only have one. They forgot my other cheek. I've only got one. It's one of my other weird oddities. This is a fun one. This is not a question that's been asked, and nobody's asked me this, but everybody look at your hands now, because I've got a weird thing with my hands as well, okay? Mm-hmm. Where you're like, usually your forefinger and your ring finger are the same length, or your ring finger is slightly longer. No, my forefinger, look, it's almost as long as my middle finger. I have a really, really long forefinger. If you have that, you are in like 3% of people in the world that have weird hands like me. Okay, so yours are like, these two are kind of similar.
Mm-hmm.
Similar length. This one on me is just long, pokey fingers.
There's nothing wrong with long, pokey fingers.
No complaints so far, so no. There we go, drink.
Checking.
Welcome to the club, drink. Welcome to the club. I love that everyone's now. I can just picture people now sat there looking at their hands, being like, "What is it? Yeah." Do I have hitchhiker thumb? What the hell does that mean? Is that where you can do the weird, like, bend your thumb right back? Because if that's the case, no. That's as far back as my thumb's going. Fingers are tricky. They can be, Ketsu. They can be. It is true.
Oh.
Oh my god. I know it's not bad, but it just... Ugh.
Oh, I used to be worse.
I can't click
I
mine.
used to squeeze my hands, and like every joint along the way would
Wow.
crack.
I get it. If I kneel down, my knees will crack.
Yeah, my ankles still crack. I can make those pop on
Crazy.
command. My knees do, my hips do, my shoulders and my neck do on occasions. I don't crack those much anymore these days, but yes. Just drop me an alert because I have 9 hours of sleep in 2 days. Have a good night, Drink. Thank you for the alert.
Sleep,
go rest. Go rest. Solarsis would like to know, do you play any musical instruments, or what is your favorite musical instrument to listen to? Or you can answer both.
I play the flute reasonably well. I play the piano badly. I can clunk out chords. It's not good. But it's better than I could do a couple of years ago. So Jack is really good at playing the piano. I am nowhere near as good as he is, but I can kind of accompany myself along. My voice is my main instrument. I am a trained soprano. That's my preference. If I'm ever in a situation of having to be musical, I will use my voice rather than anything else. But I can play the flute. I was forced to learn to play some piano because you physically cannot accompany yourself singing and playing the flute. Or at least if you can, you'd be making a lot of money.
That's a neat trick.
So singing is my first choice of instrument, I suppose. In terms of favorite instrument to listen to, geez, violin or cello if it's played well. If a violin is played badly, it is like listening to fingers on chalkboard or fingernails on a chalkboard. I like listening to piano. I just like listening to. For me, it's about the sounds that the instrument makes rather than necessarily the instrument on its own. That's a kind of a cop-out answer, but depending on my mood. Harps are quite good. Dulcimer is really cool. If someone plays dulcimer well, it's a little it's got lots of strings and you hit it with a little hammer. Very, very cool. So if you don't know, by the way, anyone in chat, I'm sure actually most of you will, but I'm completely deaf in my left ear. So this ear is good for holding jewelry and keeping my headphones on. That's it. It's not doing anything else. Have been deaf in that ear since I was born. So this ear works overtime, and it's nice to treat it to good things and things that sound good. So every now and then my this ear will enjoy it kind of get an earworm for a certain sound or something that sounds really good. So, and sometimes that's really heavy sounds, and sometimes that's lighter classical things. Music, just sounds. Music, things that drown out the outside world. My one biggest fear in life, this is a very deep answer. My one biggest fear in life is going deaf in this ear as well, and completely losing all access to that music and being able to sing. So I treat this ear very carefully, and that includes putting nice things into it, basically. It gets a treat. It's a good ear.
Yes. I think you should always treat yourself to a lot of good things anytime you get a chance to, like good music, good food, good whatever the case may be that you can get your hands on. I like listening to sounds. Like sounds are always inspiring, and different sounds can evoke different sort of moods, feelings, stimulate different portions of your brain. I find I listen to a lot of sounds over music more than anything else. And it's fun because you can hear, if you listen to enough sounds, you can hear music even within the sounds. And you then come to realize very quickly that sounds are just wavelengths and music is just wavelengths, and it's all just broken down into math anyways. And we just got boring and just ruined music for everybody. No.
No.
But it's fascinating. It's always one of those fascinating things. I like listening to a guitar. I think the guitar is probably my favorite thing to listen to, and the only reason why I like the guitar over anything else to listen to is not only is it joyful to listen to as long as it's in tune, right? It's in tune.
Yes.
And somebody's plucking away on it, and you don't have to be plucking a good song. As long as the strings are in tune and you're just plucking away at something, it's pleasant to listen to, but visually, it's also visually stimulating to watch the hands on the frets, to watch the strings vibrate, to listen to the different noises that can be created from how you pitch and bend and the strings are played and where at, how long, how short, and what kind of waveforms that you can get off in that. Like all of that to me is such a meaningful thing. I can just sit and watch a guitar player for hours on end. But
I think stringed instruments, there's a big variety in what they're capable of producing in a way that there's different ways you can play some other instruments, but strings to me feel like they have a huge amount of versatility in the way that they can be played and utilized. So there's some songs that on a piano you can try and play it out, but unless it's got a specific piano part written for it, it doesn't sound particularly like anything. Whereas when someone's strumming it or plucking it on a guitar, the guitar can fill the sound out more, if that makes sense, because you can have so many of the strings doing different things at once that it's
you can have your melody line, you can have your bass line, you can have a guitar and we call that fingerstyle where you have your melody, you have your rhythm section, and then you have your bass line, and they're all being played at the same time, and you can hear a distinction between them. I would say you could do that on the piano as well, but it's a little harder since you have to reach for more keys in different places, and so your hands have to be really fast. I think you have to be really good to do something like that. For a guitarist, it's a little easier because our fingers only have to make so many different shapes to find what they're looking for. And yes, I'm making the shapes because that's what I do. So it makes it easy for me to like, oh yeah, there's a G, there's a D, there's an A, there's this key, okay, and so this is a chord, and let me bar down here, and yeah, it's all there in muscle memory.
Yeah, I find it really interesting that purely by chance, a lot of my very good friends are very musical people, and I don't think I'd count myself as very musical. My theory is very rusty. I enjoy music, I can do it, but I'm not that. It's a muscle that should be better. Considering I like singing, it's a muscle that should be better trained, frankly. But one of my very best friends, who some of you in chat have met, my very good friend Hugh, is a professional musician, and I am so pleased for him that he gets to travel the world, and that's what he does, is make music. And he is one of those people, he can pick up any instrument and play it. So I can remember he sang the piano and I sang for one of our mutual friends' first dances at their wedding. And he also played them down the aisle on the piano and was saying beforehand, I'm not very good at playing the piano, and had the sheet music put in front of him and just sat down and did it. I was like, Hugh, shut up. You like never tell me again that you're not good at something. But he is one of those people, almost any. So he mostly plays bass guitar, which is such an interesting point to come from as a launching point for all of these other instruments. But he has just finished touring with a professional singer. He's done lots of musicals. So if anyone's seen Bat Out of Hell, somewhere in the world, he might have been in the orchestra for that performance. There's something about people, I think, that appreciate music and are good at music and are very musically minded, that have a nice way of viewing the world. I don't know if that's what the connection is, but basically, chat, if you're musical, we can be friends. We can if you're not as well, but it's a good in. It's a good in.
That is fantastic. Creative minds, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, I as a bit of a musician myself, I'm going to go on.
Hang on. Sorry, stop a second. A bit of a musician. A bit. How many of us have got a Nori song playing somewhere in our stream? Huge number of us. A bit. A bit. But
A bit.
carry on. I'm not being sarcastic at all. A bit.
A bit.
Continue. That's like saying I'm a bit British. I'm just a bit British.
It's
Not much.
well,
Tiny bit.
not much. It's fine. It's fine. We're not judging. You don't drink the tea. It's fine. You're a bit British. See, two can play at this. Watch this.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. If I dish it out, I can take it. Don't worry. Sorry, I interrupted your very eloquent thing you were about to say as well. I apologize.
Not eloquent at all. I was just going to point out because where was it at? Yeah, right here. Chumpkins was like creative minds, maybe. As a bit of a musician, I find that it's not a creativity that fuels the music. For me, I look at it's more of an objectivity. So for me, music comes out of the same side of the brain that I use to program with. It's a very logical side. It has rules that it follows. There's behavior sets to it and everything else. So it's not a creative flow for me. I watch somebody draw or paint, and to me, when I try, that comes out of the other side of the brain. That's a creative flow. So to me, it's a very different point.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So, I mean, unfortunately, it still makes you creative, whether you like it or not.
Says who? But it's a very logical thought process, right? Because chord progression has a very specific way of going about it. It produces a specific set of harmonies, and those harmonies have a way of tickling in your ears. They produce waveforms, and waveforms build on top of other waveforms, and it's all math, and it all happens on the side of the brain that does all the programming for me. So I use music an awful lot to help me when I'm working. Like, yes. I will stop when I'm stuck on something and just play a piece of music. And as I'm working the structure out of that music, it's helping to formulate the structure of the program, of the algorithm that I'm currently working on or whatever. I've converted the math into something musically, and I can follow it with my fingers. And now I've got something visual to work from.
It's really interesting because Jax, my other half, is also a programmer and does basically the same thing, and is also musical. What I would say though is that people, it's really, I love hearing the process that people go through when they are doing something that is inherently creative, what comes out of it, whether that's art or music or writing, whatever. I love understanding how people go about it, because I think I think part of the thing that makes sometimes approaching something difficult is that you assume that there is a set way that everybody does it, and so you're like, oh, I don't know how to do that. And to hear that everybody has a slightly different way of creating things, I think is a really comforting thought for people, and should encourage people that however they get into it, that's how it works for them. It's great, that works.
Absolutely.
But all people, however they are creating it, creative people that make music and artwork and write things, whether that's stories or poetry, whatever, are creating something that inherently makes the world feel or appear more beautiful. And I think maybe that's what it is that I like. Even if the subject or topic that is being dealt with is horrendous, it's presented in a way that feels very beautiful. Right. Even if it's a sad beautiful. And I think that's what I get drawn to. I like things and experiences in life that make me feel things, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. So people that create things are basically just feeding that part of my brain that is desperate to absorb emotion, probably. That was deep, wasn't it?
You weren't expecting that, were you?
No, it wasn't, no. See, it's possible sometimes.
It is possible. Well, you know, it's always an interesting thing. I like learning. The big rule I have is to always learn something new at least once a day. If you're not learning something new, then you might as well just go crawl into your coffin now. World is always changing, and the world is always about learning something.
Absolutely.
And so I enjoy listening to the way people think and process things, because that tells you a little bit about their personality, how they're going to react to certain situations. It tells you who they are as a person, and helps you form some really serious and really very interesting connections with individuals. Because the more you know about somebody, the more time you take to learn about somebody, the more interested you are in who they are as a person, who they are as an individual. And when you get to a point where you can like predict their interactions and their reaction to things and whatnot, then you suddenly realize that you have invested a not an insignificant portion of time with that individual. And again, we're back to this whole thing about time, and that is probably the most meaningful gift that you can give anybody is some of your time.
Absolutely. Agreed. We're so deep and interesting.
Talk Tuesdays are always a fantastic show because it's always interesting. No Talk Tuesday is ever the same. Every guest is phenomenal, amazing, and fantastic. Conversations are witty and comical to deep and philosophical. Like it's all overboard, but it lets you get a good feel for the individual, and that's what I enjoy about Talk Tuesday.
What I like about watching them and about just interacting with people in general, I hate small talk. I'll do it till the cows come home if that's what makes other people feel comfortable. But I would much rather talk to you about, and I mean you and in the royal you as in people in general.
Yeah.
I would rather talk to them about a really deep and meaningful topic if they're comfortable with that than just discuss the weather, because I love people and I love getting to know people, and I think that's what I love about history. History is about people.
Yes.
And it's tantalizing because you can't ever just ask the person. It's all clues and things that are left behind. And my degree was in archaeology, so I was an archaeologist aeons ago.
Oh, fascinating.
And that, I loved that because you're uncovering things, and the last person that saw some of those things is hundreds and hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, potentially. I did my dissertation, I looked at an assemblage of Anglo-Saxon skeletons that were at that point 1,800 years old. And it was all about working out what sex they were, basically. But then you're looking at this person, this person's kind of body in front of you, and those bones belonged to a person, and there's markers all over them of who that person was. And you can tell if you look closely enough whether they're right or left-handed because of the muscle markers on them and which ones are used more. And you can see the people that were using a sword a lot, for example, because of the stretch on the bone. You know, when you do something a lot, it's pulling on your bone, and you will see that. You know, people that break bones when they're younger, and you think, God, I wonder how you did that. It's all about people. People are sometimes dickheads. They really are. Like, people are in equal measure a good and a bad thing. But
yes,
people are fascinating. Even people that do bad things, understanding why they do those bad things is inherently fascinating. And if you are a streamer that doesn't like people, stop streaming.
Yes.
Because half the fun of streaming is the interaction that you have with people and learning about them, and what else lets you talk to people from all over the world in quite the same way. You're all fascinating. I like watching, like, it's fun to have this conversation with you, Nori, and to get this kind of feedback from, because it's interesting to see what other people think is interesting and want to know. But I like watching the Talk Tuesdays as well, because it's so cool to find out things about people that you might not otherwise know. So,
you don't get the opportunity, right? You learn a little something extra about them, and it's for me, it's been a very fascinating stream. Like, I legitimately look forward to I'm bummed, right? This is our last Talk Tuesday for the rest of the year. I won't have a new one until the first Tuesday. Yes, we don't have another Talk Tuesday until the next year. Wow. That's because the next couple Tuesdays, one follows Christmas Eve and the other one follows on New Year's Eve. Yeah, we're not doing that. And I'm a little bummed because I don't get to have another one of these conversations until the new year, and I look forward to the Tuesdays. Like, I kind of run, if my week was the way it was, I kind of run my week all the way to Tuesdays, because these are every Tuesday has been a fascinating look into the life and the individual behind some of the streamers out there. And we've had small streamers, we've had large streamers. I've had people that have had like 40 or 50 followers, and then we've had some people that have a couple thousand followers in here and talking, and it's always the same. It's a fascinating look into who they are, how they think, what they do, how they react, why their community is the way it is, how the people that they attract to them. It's really fascinating, because not two streamers, like there are streamers that have I would call them collision lines. Like we have communities that collide all over the place. Like one person will be in all of these different communities and whatnot, and so they can talk to everybody in the community, because everybody just knows them. Like I'm all over the place. I'm everywhere. A lot of that is because of Talk Tuesday. I spend a lot of times in everybody's stream in order to do the research, to get an understanding, to write the introductions, to get ready for them, to understand what it is that people are coming to see and get ready for that sort of thing. So I'm in everybody's streams, and I can see where certain people collide in different streams, and they show up here and there and everywhere else. And it's always fascinating. It's a really interesting take to see, who gets attracted where and why. And then when I have the interviews, right, and I bring people on, I'm like, okay, this week's we got Red Fox Heritage. Hey, great. I hope so-and-so shows up, because they're going to really enjoy this, because you jive with them, and it's a good fit. It's a good match. And, a new friend that you've made, a new member to your community. And for every time you pick up a new member to your community doesn't grow by just one. Because it grows by one plus all the other communities that individual is now attached to. So you've just added an entire spider web to your community just with one person. And it's fascinating. It is absolutely the most fascinating thing in the world to watch.
Agreed.
So I don't know how to say, like, hey, this has been really cool. It's a fun experiment, because I get to watch people's networks grow and actively be one of those guys like, I introduced X, Y, or Z together, and now look at this. How cool is that? It's a fantastic experiment, but it's more interesting just to watch the growth of individuals. And there was somebody asked a while back, like, oh, well, will you ever do like a anniversary, bring people back in for another round of Talk Tuesdays? I'm like, that in some points, maybe, but in other points, I'm like, we could sit down and talk again, but what are we going to talk about? What's changed between now and then? Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I have been on the fence about that, because I don't know if that really fits with what Talk Tuesday does.
Of what the point of it is, yeah.
So I don't know.
Guess we'll wait.
I've been off in a weird place about that one. Cattiest Tudin, or Cattiest Odin. Well, I always do that with her name, and that's Zoda's fault. Cattiest Odin would like to know what your top 5 favorite video games are.
Okay. I think I did this not long ago, and I'll see if it's still the same. BG3 is up there in the top spot.
Shocking no one.
I know. The funny thing is, when I've told this on stream before, Jack bought me the game. I was still playing a lot of Hogwarts Legacy. He bought me the game. I didn't touch it for a while because I was still playing Hogwarts Legacy. And I started playing it, and previously I had played Baldur's Gate 2, obviously different developer.
Yes.
And I had played on the PlayStation Baldur's Gate 2, Dark Alliance 2. Yeah. And so I had some prior experience of playing them. I was like, oh yeah, cool, they're fun. I'll give it a go. And because I hadn't played anything like it in ages, I was like, oh my god, I've got to click where I want to walk. And I was like, oh God. And the beginning is cool, but it's kind of bleak. I was like, what the fuck is this? Okay. I played it for a little bit, was like, okay. Jack kept saying, oh, what did you make of it? I was like, yeah, so it was okay. If I had bought that game myself, I might not have gone back to it. But because he bought it for me, I was like, it was expensive. I should probably try it again. And on that second playthrough, it clicked and I was hooked. And it is what every game should be in terms of the purpose behind it, the acting, the script, the plot. It's a masterpiece, and I think that game will be looked at as a standard for a long time going forward. So other games kind of have to hit up to that level. I could talk about BG3 a lot. If Paint is still here, Paint and I could talk about BG3 a lot. Second place would be Final Fantasy X. It's got the yeah, we still talk a lot about Baldur's Gate to this day. Very deep conversations too. I enjoy them. Yeah, Final Fantasy X has just got the nostalgia factor for me, and I still think that game is stunningly beautiful. The scene where Yuna walks out onto the water to do the sending, just the whole cinematography of that scene is absolutely beautiful. I think it feels slightly less adult than 8 did, but I don't want to plot spoil or anything for anybody that hasn't played it and might play it. It's a beast of a game. It can take a very, very, very long time, but the storyline to it is just so beautiful and heartfelt. 3 would probably be Detroit Become Human. I prior to that played Heavy Rain, loved Heavy Rain. Was skeptical going into Detroit Become Human because I thought, well, nothing's going to be. I still will regularly walk around if I'm looking for something shouting, Jason. Heavy Rain, for the time it was developed, is amazing, and a dark but very interesting plotline to Heavy Rain. And same with Detroit Become Human, this exploration of what it means to be human and the various different things that the android debate can refer to in real life. It's just and the choices matter. Take note, game devs. We want choices to matter in a game. If you're going to tell us we have to make choices, I'm looking at you, Telltale Games. There's a reason you don't exist anymore. Number 4, Phasmophobia, for sure. Number 5, I'm gonna have to go back and find my list. I wrote these down, and I can't remember what I think 5 would be, so I'm going to find it. This is cheating, but I'm going back to look.
I'm not certain how it's cheating. Not like this is a pop quiz.
Syndicate. So previously I had Phasmo at number 5, but I've played more Phasmo now. It's snuck up. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, that game is awesome. It's not often that you get thrown a decent female protagonist. So Assassin's Creed Syndicate is there. There we go. All very story-led, apart from Phasmo.
Yeah, see, Martin, for me, the very first Final Fantasy I ever got my hands on to play was the American version released on the NES back in the day, the original Final Fantasy, which I don't even think that one was the very first Final Fantasy. I think that was actually Final Fantasy II, if you go by the Japanese standards. And that's the one that I remember sinking thousands of hours playing, because you just kind of had to figure your way out through that one. That was painful.
People playing games today don't, if you're, I don't know, in your 20s still, do not appreciate that once upon a time for a lot of games, if you wanted, you had to buy a guide, or it was word of mouth. You couldn't just go on the internet and look up how to do a certain bit. You had to buy a guide. That's again showing my age, but yeah, that's what
Nintendo Power. Yes.
I remember having I borrowed a copy of, I want to say, Pokemon Red from a friend. I'm talking Game Boy now. Pokemon Red on a Game Boy. and them giving me the guidebook that you could use to talk you through it if you wanted it, because it came with the game. Crazy.
Nice.
Crazy. Carmine, to answer your question, what's wrong with Final Fantasy Part 2? I can describe it to you in 2 words. Dance, stance. Nah. Final Fantasy X was this epic love story that just wasn't corny and crappy. It was immense. And then they changed the look of Yuna for Final Fantasy X Part 2, and they put like stupid dresses on them, and you chose a different dance, and it was so overtly girly. I have no idea who the hell thought that was a good idea. Also, to get the good ending that everybody wanted, which again I'm not going to spoiler, you had to get 100%. Nobody is. You'd have to go step by step through a guide to force you through 100% on that abomination of a game. If you can't tell, I'm quite an all or nothing. It's a very extremes of opinion, very all or nothing. Final Fantasy X, I cannot recommend enough to anybody. It's a specific type of gameplay, but it's a beautiful game. Final Fantasy X Part 2 needs to be burnt. Every copy needs to not exist. Awful. They did. It's exactly it, Martin. They tried to make like K-pop game visuals, and it. Stop it. Stop
it's just, yeah, it's not good.
It's
not
bad.
good.
It's bad.
I remember when 7 dropped, and 7 was an epic story. It was so good. I enjoyed massive hours. One of the few games that actually made me get a little emotional when I can't remember her name now these days. When she died in it.
I can't think of her name either.
Come on, I should know this one. No, it's gone. It's not there.
Aerith.
But yeah, it was.
Someone says Aerith.
Yes. That doesn't sound right. It could be. I would have to go look it up. We're gonna go with Aerith for right now. That's fine. But yeah, like that was an emotional moment. I was like, wow. And I remember watching all that, and then I remember getting excited when they were talking about doing a remake of 7 and making it into this like FPS action game that you could play. I'm like, oh, that's going to be so great, and I'm like, yes, and I want to play through the entirety all over again and see it from the insides of having to do all the action work and everything else, and that's going to be great. And they've been doing that, but it's not the same animal. It doesn't have the same feel that 7 did, and it just feels off. And the way they do the combat in there feels off. And I'm just like, I was so bummed watching people play it. And then it's not even one whole game. They've broken it up into like 3 or 4 pieces, and they're still steadily developing it. And some of the pieces have bugs in it. And I'm like, okay, just.
But I'm telling you, it's not the same now. It's not Squaresoft. Bring back Squaresoft.
But, it's, yeah, it is what it is. It's like, what are you gonna do, right? You can't. I'm not making the game, so I can bellyache about it all I want, but I can't really change anything.
You probably represent a huge number of people that played that game originally, because 7 is like what a lot of people see as their pinnacle. 7 is the Final Fantasy game that most people would vote as the best one. It's huge.
Yes.
And so for all those people that have that affinity with it and that connection to it, and I feel like Final Fantasy is one of those. Why doesn't my brain want to work?
Because we're streaming and we both have streamer brains.
I mean, it's also 11:30 at night for me. I'm trying to say series of games. There's another word for it. I can't think what it is. Franchises. There we go. We got there in the end.
Yes.
That people do have very emotional connections to the games that they had played. And so making fundamentally massive changes that detract from the feel of the game. I don't think you're the only one that has that opinion that you're like, oh, don't like this.
Yeah.
If you're going to make huge changes beyond just, or do a slightly different style of gameplay, do something new. Don't butcher up something that is beloved.
Yeah.
Basically.
You're not wrong. I mean, it is. I don't know that I would say the pinnacle, because some people will tell you that Final Fantasy 15 or Final Fantasy 14 is the pinnacle of what they've done, and blah 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 blah.
They'd be wrong, but yeah, they're allowed that opinion.
People are allowed their opinions. It's fine. Yep. It's fine. But at the, I lost my train of thought now. It departed the station without me. Come back. Come back.
Hello, Seb.
Yo, Serb. Welcome in. Welcome in. Let's see. Tiny Angry Elf says, at Solarsis. Hello. I don't think that works. Not really a question. Hermia's Rose would like to know, what is your all-time favorite song and why?
Oh God, how do people have just one? I don't understand.
Well, give us a lineup of like 5 then. Make it easier.
Brain is going. Can't choose 5. You want to know my secrets? So one is I was a big Amy Lee fan and a big Evanescence fan. And My Immortal, I had a band when I was younger, and My Immortal was one of the first songs that we performed all together, which, doing that live with the strings, we had electric cellos, electric guitars, electric violins, was just amazing. So My Immortal, Evanescence is up there. It's one of them.
That was brave. That's a hell of a song.
An Evanescence song. Oh
no! That was a hell of a song to do as your first one out in public like that, with all of the electrified like cellos and violins on top of all that. That's.
So I used to sing more regularly at school. This was kind of just school leaving age that I did that. Me and my friends used to sing in all the school concerts and things before that. There was a group of us, again, my friend Janet, who would do all the arranging. She's a professional musician now as well. She lives in America,
Nice.
and she tours and does. She's a jazz artist now, which is really cool.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. What else is springing to mind? I feel like my favorite songs change. I find it really hard to pinpoint down specific kind of long-term songs, because it's whatever tickles my ear. I would say I really like Red Earth and Pouring Rain by Bear's Den. If you've never listened to that, give it a listen. What else? Cough Syrup, Young the Giant is also very cool. Caravan Palace, Rocket For Me.
Rocket For Me.
That's
yes,
a cool song.
Good song.
Yeah,
yep.
That's a very cool song. There's a song by a singer called, I think it's pronounced Chris Purica, something, called Landlocked, which is fun. It's very guitar-y. You'll notice from a lot of those songs, I like a good lilting melody.
If you like a good lilting melody, go look up Deladap.
Send me a link after this and I will give it a listen. What else? It's a lot of there's one by In Flames, which is really not like an In Flames. Like, I like In Flames a lot, but there's one of their songs that isn't very In Flamesy, and I can't remember what it's called. Is it Metaphor? I think it's Metaphor. In Flames Metaphor is great. For some really out there prog metal, Stream of Consciousness by, why is the band gone out of my head? Dream Theater. Is it Dream Theater?
Oh
I think it's
yes,
Dream Theater.
I think it is
Stream of
Dream Theater.
Consciousness.
Yes,
That's a very cool song.
it is.
My brain is really struggling to think. It's just things are popping up randomly in my head. A huge variety of things is basically the answer. AJ, does that help? Is that a helpful answer to you? I listen to, like, I'm not trying to be one of those people that's really cool. Like, I listen to all sorts of things, but I really do, because I just
Well, but
follow things
okay,
that sound nice.
I
basically.
think though it's fair to say, right? As a musician, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna lump singers in with all the other musicians because that vocal track is a musical instrument. But I think in general, musicians tend to listen to a lot of things because we take inspirations from everything. And you never know what sounds cool. Like, oh, I've heard that chord played that way, but I've never heard that chord progression. That's an interesting take on that chord progression. And then suddenly my brain's like, ooh, well, so I can do that, but I can also add this one in here. And next thing you know, you've got a whole new song again. And so we drag a bit of inspiration from a lot of things.
Yeah. I'm looking up because I forgot the name of the band. Another good one, Only You, Yazoo, early Alison Moyet. Great song. I like the sounds that the music makes behind the singing. It's a cool one. There's loads. I'll think of more. AJ, I'll just message you some when my brain formulates it in. But I would say my favorite songs chop and change a lot depending on mood and what I've been listening to. So it's a weird mixture.
Music doesn't tend to inspire moods, so it's not unheard of to have your favorite. Like, oh, I'm obsessed with this song right now, and then your mood shifts, and you're like, I don't want to listen to that song. I'm feeling this one, and now you're obsessed with the new song. Like it's very much so kind of the way that happens. But it's like
if you want my current, yeah, it's true. That is very true. My current song that I've been listening to over and over and over on repeat is 309 by Fen Lily. It's a good one. My most recent one I've been listening to a lot.
Well, there you go. We've done that question, and we've done the Crimson wants to know, do you want a cuppa?
From you, Crim, yes. Should I explain that story?
Yes, I think I want an explanation on this one.
So I was 27. I was very blonde and considerably slimmer than I am now. Only been teaching 2 years at this point, and was approached by a teacher at the school I was currently teaching at, saying, "We've got a what we call a trainee teacher." We called them. I'm not going to say what we called them because that's too regionally specific. Basically, a new teacher coming in to train to teach. And we were wondering, they have to go into a tutor group. Could they come into your tutor group? Like, yeah, fine, all good. I'm happy to train. I trained while I was a teacher. I trained people to become history teachers. So it's like, this is cool. This is actually less work, and it's nice to have company in tutor time. This person turns up, no joke, like a giant 6 foot something Ken doll, stacked, very attractive. I was like, golden. I had a boyfriend. I wasn't doing anything, but it's nice to have something to look at. He was very flirty, and I was constantly like, you got to be professional. We're in front of teenagers. They can see how you're talking to me. This is a little uncomfortable.
Right.
We went to a teaching conference, so the whole school went, and when we came back, they parked at my house. We got a lift up with someone else. When they came back, I very naively, and looking back on it, it was stupid, very naively, said, would you like a cup of tea? And he leaned across the back of the sofa, arm around me towards me, and said, I'd really like to fuck you. I was like, Okay. I was like, we're in the house that I live in with my boyfriend, and he said, no one needs to know. I was like, I don't. He also was not single. And so that created a slightly awkward situation thereafter. And then I stupidly told other people in my department at work that story, and so one of them would constantly be like, "Hey, do you want a cup of tea? Do you want a cup of tea?" So that is the running joke now. So you'll hear, because Fargus knows that story. Fargus will do it in history a lot as well. But like, Foxy, do you want a cup of tea? That's the story behind the joke. Obviously, I make a good cup of tea. What can I say?
The very best cup of tea.
Or a really bad cup of tea, and that was the extreme length he was willing to go to not have to drink the tea. I didn't do it. I'd like to be clear. I didn't do it. Was not tempted to do it. Didn't happen. I was well behaved. But that was wild.
That is quite the distance to go to avoid a cup of tea.
Like, it is, right?
I am not a fan of tea at all. Like, it makes me violently ill. But even I don't think I've gone to that length to avoid a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. No. I mean, I was like almost 10 years younger at that point, so you know.
Wow.
Bless him.
Okay.
You're right, Seb. It is a British staple, and
we have isolated and determined that Red Fox is a bit British.
Just a tad. A tiny bit. I can sound very British if you would like me to do the rest of the stream sounding very British and remove my regional accent.
No, you're fine. Oh, I'm going to hit you now with the bit British a bit more often, just because, you know, there's a bit of tea in your cup.
True. It is true. Very true. Typhoon or Tetley? Right. No, Yorkshire. Yorkshire tea. Yorkshire tea or Twinings. Definitely not Typhoon. Tetley at a push. Yorkshire tea or Twinings. PG tips. This is the most British conversation I've had in a while. PG tips, yeah. Good old PG tips.
And unfortunately, as a Puerto Rican American, I have no idea what we're even talking about now.
There's like a hierarchy of tea in the UK, basically.
Okay. I was going to say, if you're telling me these are all tea staples of some sorts, you're going to be right out on your own on that conversation, because I will absolutely nope, you're talking tea. Don't care.
Sorry,
nope, that'll just make me sick.
Jazzy's claim to fame here. Been to the Yorkshire Tea Factory. It does. Seb, it does. It sits right at the top. You are correct. Okay. You're all educated now.
Yes. Well, Serb is also a fellow bit British.
A little bit. Shall I could go London for you. A bit British.
Yeah, a bit British.
Bottle of water.
I
hate that, by the way. It's so annoying. Like, no one outside of London, and not even in London, says it exactly like that. But none of the rest of us say it.
Well, okay. To be fair, there are bits of southern dialogue that people do the same thing with. Right. I'm from the Southeast. We get a lot of it's. I think people get stereotypical with their dialects and be like, yes, so everybody from this area, this side, whatever, if you claim to be from that, should sound like this, and that's how it is. And you're just like, no, that's painful, and please don't talk like that. You just no, stop. It's just wrong.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
It's kind of what I would say. I would almost call it. Oh, we're getting raided.
Oh. Hello, Fargus.
Speak of the devil, and he shall arrive.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome in,
Hello,
Raiders.
Oh God!
You
Quick,
were-
end the stream. End the stream before Fargus can ask any questions.
You guys are showing up just in time. We are in the middle of our interview with Red Fox Heritage, the fantastic streamer Red Fox Heritage. If you don't know who they are, well, you should. You've obviously shown up here. Got my notepad ready.
I just got asked. Fargus Crim's just asked if I want a cup of tea.
We've covered all the things. It's fine. It's fine. No, we've actually been having rather deep philosophical conversations tonight, which is, you know, been rather fascinating and a lovely break. You don't always get like deep philosophical conversations. It can happen, but it's not an always sort of thing. It's fascinating, and it's always fun to talk historical references and history in general, because there's so much you can learn from that. It's such a fantastic time.
I'm always good for the history. I can honestly tell you, there's probably not, I say this quietly because Jack is in the same flat with me. I don't think there's even been a person in my life that I've loved more than I love history. That's how deep the love for history goes. It's embedded. It's ingrained. I love Jack very much.
Deep.
But history is my one true love in life. It's my calling. It's under my skin. That's it. Thank God you're not in the house.
We had a delightful conversation regarding their slightly orange Fanta drink.
Not tea, it's Fanta. Sponsor me, Fanta.
For the very best of Fantas.
Red Fox Fanta.
Oh, sir, it's a shame you missed this one. We actually already had that question. But, you know, we'll let her do a quick recap. Sir wants to know, out of the whole of history, what is your favorite time period? It's not exactly the same, but it's pretty reasonable enough to it.
Yeah, favorite time period, medieval. I'm deeply obsessed with the medieval period. Sorry, chat's distracting me. Sounds fantastic. That's too good. Yeah, anything from the Anglo-Saxons forward into, and I will, the Tudors aren't medieval, but I love the Tudors as well. And then 20th century would be 20s and 30s. And that sounds like a really lame my answer last time, watch the VOD. My answer the first time was way better.
Well, we're just doing a recap on it. We're just doing a recap on it.
Yeah.
You know.
Can you interest me in LARP? Maybe. Depends where you are located in the UK. I am awkwardly tucked away in the corner, so it depends where you are located. Can I bring my bow? I've got a sword as well. I have a Viking sword as well.
She has a bow. It is a gorgeous piece. Absolutely fantastic. But no, I think we unfortunately we do have to start wrapping things up. We are at time, and it is very late for Red Fox, and I am very appreciative that she has taken as much time as she has to hang with us. We do have your two final questions, and you have one last bit of business after that, and that is to choose where we're taking this fantastic collection of amazing people who come out here to learn all there is to learn about you, too. I.e., you get choose the raid target.
Okay. In
true Talk Tuesday tradition.
Okay, I'll start looking in a second then.
So your first, your final two questions you get to ask. We're coming to the end of 2024, so we're not even going to talk 2024. So over in 2025, front half or the majority of it, wherever. Is there any like big events that you're planning on, whether those are charities, streamathons, or anything like that you're thinking about doing in the upcoming future that you want to call attention to, or just, give people a heads up notice that you're considering doing this and, it might be something on the horizon?
Oh yes, Nori, there is, and thank you. Um, I feel
Oh,
like
the
I
segue
need
to
to
that.
I need to get famous now. Going on talk show sounds like fun. Um, Chat has redeemed 2 rewards. The first one was for 400 followers. I'm almost at 500 now as well, which is insane. But Chat in November for 400 followers have redeemed themselves a live music stream. So it will be Jack and I don't think I'll play anything. I will sing, obviously. But we have a piano, we have the guitars. So Jack and I will put on a short. It's not going to be 3 hours long because my voice will break in that time. But
Oh, good God, yeah.
I was going to do it in December, and then we moved, and then also I've been ill. So I do not sing on an ill throat, bad throat. I just don't want to do the damage to my vocal cords. So it will be in January. I'm in a space now where I can. It was almost impossible to stream that in the last place. In here, I've got the room. I can just turn everything around a bit easy. So at some point, I don't have a date yet because life is all over the place with the move, etc. But at some point in January, there will be the live music stream, and then on the other end of the spectrum of being cultured, I set a stupid goal of getting 100 subs, and thanks to people like Cell, we smashed that goal, which means I now have to do a Fox cosplay stream, which means I have to get the red wig and a tail and the face paints and do an entire stream as a fox. So that will also be coming up in January. And then at some point, Fargus, is it January? Your affiliate, plug Fargus here. I think Fargus has his affiliate anniversary come point in January, so I'll probably be on some games and things there. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, Fargus. And then in May will be my my 1 year in May. So that's technically the first half of the year. So May will see my 1 year on a 24-hour. I'm in my late-ish 30s. I don't think I'm capable of streaming for 24 hours.
I wouldn't even attempt it. And
I just don't
FYI,
think I have that in me.
Vargas, we're talking about anything that she wants to raise awareness to. So if she wants to raise awareness to one of your events, deal with it.
Yeah. Take that, Vargas. And thanks for the raid, by the way. Love you. Another 100 subs. I mean, last time I looked, I was on something stupid like 140 something. So it's madness. It's madness.
It is madness.
But
it's the best kind of madness.
It is. It is. Almost 200. Let's not set the gut. I can't think of what to put as the next one. I don't know about subathons. Subathons to me, it's no issue with anybody that does a subathon. I just don't. I would worry that I'd do a subathon and then no one would sub, and it would just be really embarrassing. So I don't know if I'll do that. Stop trying to make me cry on stream.
I always feel like doing a sub. So to me, doing a subathon always feels a little awkward, just because at that point, like we do these streams to have fun a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
When you do a subathon, you're basically charging for your fun, and that seems awkward to me. That's the part that I'm like, I'm sorry, I want to say feels a little skeevy, almost. Like, I appreciate the support and everything.
I'm reading Fargus's messages, and I will cry. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
Do it, Fargus. Do it. We're here for it. Go for it.
If people don't know, Fargus and I are streaming partners, and the way that Fargus and I got to know each other is an also very interesting story that we'll save for another time. We divide the week up between us. We share a Discord, and most of the time he just massively takes the piss out of me, and then every now and then comes in with the nice things, like when he was really nice about me when I'd gone to bed and I watched it back afterwards and I sobbed. So no, not today, sir. Not today. He's a gem. He is a gem.
Wait, but everybody needs a Fargus in the corner. Everybody needs a good friend that you can depend on and look back on and be thankful for. And if you manage to get more than one of those things, then you are truly a blessed individual. And I would take that any day of the week. So, live with it.
The whole reason that you're all here watching me talk absolute shit is because Fargus bullied me into streaming. So thanks, Fargus.
It's his fault. Blame Fargus.
It is. Night, Rick. Thanks for coming by.
Absolutely lovely. Your final question for the evening, and then we'll let you slide out of here and go get some sleep. If you had to give a piece of advice to either a brand new streamer or an earlier version of yourself just getting started streaming, whichever makes it easier to answer the question, what would be that single piece of advice that you would have given either a new streamer or yourself that if you had known when you were starting would have made life so much easier for you getting going?
Trust your instincts on the people that you surround yourself with online is one of the most important things in terms of building your community, and people that you spend your time with and people that you stream with. Those people also reflect who you are. So those associations, none of us are responsible for someone else's whatever they do, but the people that you spend your time with are a reflection of sometimes your view on the world. And I would say trust your instincts. Don't let yourself get steamrolled into a situation because you think that that's what you should do. And I guess I would couple that with always choose being a good person over a nice person. I like to consider myself to be a nice person in general, but sometimes doing the right thing, both for yourself and for other people, is more important than just staying nice and placating everybody and making everybody feel happy. It's really easy when you're new to this to get drawn towards people, and this has happened to me multiple times, not one person, to get drawn in towards one person or become very dominated by one person and their behavior. If it feels wrong, then it's wrong, and act on it basically, and don't waste time, don't waste sleep. Your journey online is your journey online, and you have to be comfortable with all the things that you're doing and saying and what's happening. So that would be it.
There you go. Lovely. Yes, I would agree that the people you associate with, whether a little bit or a lot bit, can sometimes get you into trouble. Mm-hmm. So always be careful. And it's not to say that if you just have a one-time conversation with somebody, you're instantly like scarred for life or anything. I don't think those sort of things that are going to happen. But it's like online friendships are just like real life friendships, and that the people will tend to, and I hate to use this word, but it's the most accurate word, but people will judge you based on who the company you keep. And that's a very human condition. Unfortunately, it is one of those things that does happen.
Yeah.
So, but yes, solid, absolutely. Well, so before we get on to the next course of business and everything, we're going to do a couple of things real quick here. The first and foremost is we'll do a Twitch shout out. There's a little heart that just lit up in the top corner of your chat. If it's not lit up, you are doing it wrong. I'm sorry. If you've been here long enough to talked and listened and have enjoyed the conversations and everything else, and have had your interest tickled to death by this fantastic streamer that we've had for a guest today, then the least you can do is break that little heart button, make certain it's lit up, and go jump in the next stream that they do. It's a good time. Then another thing we always like to do is we do like to show off a bit of what they can see. So we do the video shout out.
Oh no, what's it going to be? Wait, I'm going to have to watch the stream. So I can see what it is. Oh, it's Phasmo with Loki.
Okay.
Carmine. Not one of my best clips. I'm not gonna lie.
The suspense was killing me too. I'm like, oh wait, what's happening? I'm like glued to the. I'm like, okay.
We were lighting the summoning circle so that I could take a picture of the ghost and then try and run away from it. And then it killed me, I think, is what actually happened. That was Tasha. That was Tasha playing for the very first time. So thank you, Tasha. Yeah, that's a clip that needs clearing out. Thanks, Twitch. Of all of the clips you could have chosen, that's the one you went with. Yeah, follow everybody. The entertainment is always that riveting every time.
Let's see if we can get a different one.
Oh no,
this is fun.
I've got to watch it again.
Ah.
Oh no. Okay, this one's on brand. I have absolutely no sense of direction, either in real life or in games. It's just me getting lost the whole time, all the time. That's it.
Look at me with the sense of direction. Nope, wrong way.
I mean, it was a sense of direction. It was just the wrong direction. In my defense. Oh dear.
And this was your puzzle for the night. This is the one that we settled in.
It was a little fox. I would have joined it. So I got banned from doing the puzzle by Jack. Because in one of your Talk Tuesdays, I got super competitive about getting the most pieces. And Jack was like, you should not do that again.
You're welcome to do puzzles anytime you want.
But I'm very competitive. I don't like it about myself, but I am extremely competitive. And it just became competitive puzzle. And I can't do that while I'm trying to give you my attention. So I stayed out of the puzzle today because that wouldn't have been a pretty sight for anybody.
It's perfectly fine. Yeah, I had a couple of different foxes. There was a really cute little baby fox, but this one I thought was basically on brand for some of the looks I see across your face. So
I'm going to be hyper aware of that now. Hyper aware. Oh no, I'm going to cough, sorry.
Would have lost anyways because Rose is absolutely out there killing it. Look at that. 270 pieces.
That's fair.
Which is pretty on brand for Rose. In fact, I'll get out of this puzzle and Rose and the crew will actually finish this up. They can't let it go.
Yeah, it's fair. Carmine, yes. Yes, you would. Or at least a hand slap. At the very least.
Such a good time. Again, you have been a delightful guest tonight. Thank you for taking the time. I know you've been up really late, and we all appreciate the fact that you took the time out to spend this Tuesday with us. It has been an amazing conversation. It has absolutely been
a pleasure.
Everything I could have hoped it for, and then some.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for questions and being here and not having me talk to 3 people, which is what I was worried would happen.
No. No, never. So your raid target of choice?
I think can we go to Hales, please?
Do you want to go say hi to Hales, Vanon?
I would like to, please, very much.
Well, then Hales knows exactly what's coming in her way then. It's going to be a good time. Well, then, with that, you get to follow me to the end screen. There we are. I can't thank you enough, Foxy. This has been delightful. I've appreciated it. Everybody else has appreciated it. Big shouts to our raiders, Elite Fargus, Rambling Danny, and Hermaeus Rose. Thank you for bringing your lovely company by.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's always a good time. Always a good time. One of these days, we'll have to get together for Phasmo. It'll be fun.
Yes. Yes.
Just so you can hear
Yes.
the idiot laugh the entire time. Let's see if we can't figure this out here. 1 second. Oh. I think, yes, okay.
I have to look at the spelling every time.
I always have to look at the spelling. I'm like, I should know this one. There we go. It's amazing. It's a good time. Yes. So we new thing, right? So we actually have Talk Tuesday raid messages. They're customized for our wow.
Look at that.
What a
Yeah, she's right. We did take it out of context. She wasn't wrong.
It took us so far out of context on that one. It's such a good one. Such a good one. Well, folks, yes, next week on Tuesday, there won't be a Talk Tuesday. The following week on Tuesday, it won't be a Talk Tuesday. I will see you guys all January 7th for a hot iron pot on Talk Tuesday. Be a good time. And until next time, continue to be the fantastic, fabulous, and amazing people that I already know you are. And until next time, why don't you take us out?
Bye. That was good, I know.
Was it perfect?